critical one. I think we're live. And not only are we live, we are early. We are not late. And let me get the chats up. Cool.
Nice.
Welcome, everyone.
You just need somebody to drive you a bit, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, Max is always saying that we're starting late, so just for him, we started early today. And we're doing something a little different, as usual. Every time is a little different. We do have a vertical stream going because we're trying to capture the Zoomer audience. So if you're a Zoomer and you get in the vertical stream, let us know. Say something. We can highlight the chats over there only for the vertical chat, and all sorts of other shit. But let's see who's here today. We got Squat Bench Deadlift saying Testorino. I don't know. I wonder if he saw one of my test streams, if that was public instead of not public. The third wave TTRPGs. My struggle to find worthy gameplay by by Nikito Matalini. Yeah, not quite. We got Doc Flamingo. How nice to see you, man.
Yeah.
And Phil the Thrill.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and there is indeed a Zoomer-brained version of this.
Correct.
Let me see here. I saw a vertical version of the stream. You did. And if you're on your phone, go watch it on that. Oh my God, John Smith
We need
is over. What's that?
We need a third way of streaming, like a diagonal one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got John Smith over in the vertical chat saying, wait, not just on time, but early. What sorcery is this? It's pretty crazy, man. And we do want to say thank you for showing up to the in-person Black Lodge Games meetup last night, which was a ton of fun. We had
awesome.
a grand total of 4 people show up, which is 50%. It's actually 100% more people than last time.
100% more. Yep.
It's growing, and we got a whole bunch of cool shit coming in from that. We met some really good guys in Austin,
that was really
and found there's a better game shop to have the meetups at in the future, which is going to be a lot more fun.
We'll try there next time.
Yeah. How's it going, Heath? All right, let me see here. Early, something weird is at play. Yes, something is weird. As I had a lot more technical setup to do today.
Yeah.
And so I got it done early instead of throwing it together and then saying, we have 4 minutes. We can smoke.
Do it, yeah.
Let me see here. This is chaos work. I'm horizontally biased. Me too.
Yeah.
Ariok is to blame. I don't know what that means.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Maybe a 40K reference? I don't know.
Possible. Lo, the return of the unflappable duo, plus a third.
Indeed.
Tasty Win says, who's this guy? The French guy. And this is our guest tonight, Mr. Max. He runs a great YouTube channel. If you go to our YouTube channel and scroll all the way to the bottom, we've got a list of great channels you can check out. He's there. Please do go subscribe to him. He's got very good not YouTube advice. Very good RPG advice. More importantly. And the kind of cool thing about this is that we've got very, very similar views on how to run and play role-playing games. We're in it for kind of the same reasons. And so we wanted to have someone... We've had a lot of the old school people on previously, but we basically just wanted an excuse to have Max on and chill out and hang out and talk about role-playing games.
Yeah, Mr. Max is part of the 4-man wrecking crew. It's Max, Phil the Thrill, Crispy,
and Rick.
And Rick. Blocking your subscription feed at least once a week for their 4D gaming
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun, like those Monday game, right? And you joined us in one, Nick, maybe one day Matt will.
Yeah.
I definitely that has been a lot of fun, because
And
this is something we wanted to do, because we were talking with Crispy and we're saying, we talk a lot about game advice and stuff like that. We talk about how we should run game. Let's show it how we do it, right? Let's give an example out there, because there's a lot of trash actual play content on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying that R is the best thing ever, right? It's still actual play, which there's a ceiling how entertaining it's going to be to watch, right?
Yes, immeasurably better.
Yeah, it is way better, and that we've done that before. We haven't run an online game in since last summer. We'll probably do that again at some point.
Yep.
Eventually, we will get back to it.
And I definitely want to join one of your games very soon. And someone's
really
asking
fun.
over in the the cuck shed over here in the vertical chat. Is the chat segregated? Yes, it is. And let me see here. Looks like a floating head in the dark. Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
But to answer Phil the Thrill,
I don't want people to be distracted by my body.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Intimidated and shamed.
We might get more views that way.
That's true.
Yeah, but not for the right reason.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We want engagement. No, to answer Phil the Thrill here, though, he asked if we'd checked out Dragon's Lair yet. No, but we're going to do that probably tomorrow.
Yes.
Because the people who showed up told us, they're like, it's a way better game shop. It's got...
And it's way bigger, and
huge.
The Emerald Tavern, wherever the hell we were yesterday, it's already a really big venue. And it's much bigger than that. That's wild.
Dragon's Lair is so big that they have Google Map, like a Google Street View of the inside of Dragon's Lair.
Big enough to fit a Google.
You could do the thing where you're like going through the map and like looking at the store and like seeing what they have on the shelves.
Nice.
It's pretty crazy. So we will be checking that out. Ardito saying hello to Mr. Max, your countryman.
Nice.
Azimuth question: working on logistics for my first publication, and things are snowballing in complexity. What are your thoughts on digital versus print on demand versus limited printing runs for an indie developer? We're still kind of figuring that out.
Yeah.
So I would say start small.
And I would say if that question is like if you have something written and ready to go, and that's keeping you from like pulling the trigger on it, like just release it digitally.
Yeah.
If that's all you have the bandwidth for right now, like just get it out there.
Yeah. Hold on, just gotta fix this little chat over here. There we go. Cool. Yeah. The important thing is to get it out.
Yes.
The what we have heard from our friends who've done offset prints is that the cost per unit is much lower, and the quality is obviously much better. But you are going to be responsible for shipping them out, or you're going to have to use a warehousing service that's going to send stuff out for you, and that's going to eat into your profit margins just like a higher unit price would.
Yeah.
So it's you kind of got to run a lot of numbers, but I would say start small. But we haven't done this yet, so we don't know.
I used to have like a series when I was do interview with people that publish stuff, right? And that's usually like the advice, and you can always like put it out digitally, and if you want to do a print on demand later on, or a print run, nothing stop you from it.
Yeah,
but get it out first, build the audience, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, build the audience and get some reviews and.
Yeah, get some reviews, get some feedback, because you can also add additional stuff when you're ready.
And
later.
Exactly, and then just update the file for the people. But it's also, they might catch typos that you didn't, which apparently always happens no matter what.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see who else we got here. We got it's a Moorcock thing, Elric's patron. Moorcock apparently lives out here. Like
I did not know
like
until
20
yesterday.
minutes away. Elric reference. Yeah, there we go. How's it going, Primeval Fantasy RPG?
What's happening, man?
Good to see you. It's Jambi. I don't know what that is. Has anyone ever seen Max and Zardos in the same place at the same time?
Kind of makes you think.
John Smith now in the regular stream as well. He will not be contained. That is true.
Nice.
John loaned Nick a bunch of 4th edition books.
Yes.
So we're going to be looking at that at some point and hopefully making the truth about Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition video. Let me see here. French, I can smell him from here. Tasty wind. Come on, buddy.
Yeah.
He's Canadian. 2 streams simultaneously. Exactly.
Indeed.
I am becoming more powerful. My technical abilities are increasing considerably. Oh boy, I hope I'm not going to have to defend Matt too much tonight. I guess. I don't know. We'll see, yeah.
Defend from me?
I don't know.
I don't think I should attack you.
Yeah, I don't think so.
People with the reference,
Jambi the genie.
Oh, Jambi is a Pee-wee's Playhouse reference. Yeah, okay. You're right.
You plebs.
Yeah. I left that part off.
You're not a true base gamer.
Oh, man. This is not my final form. We do have 2 separate streams.
Yes.
And we're waiting for... We just want to see if it increases our reach. And more importantly, makes us more money. Because that is the primary motivation of making
Clearly.
RPGs. Yeah.
Yep.
It's a very
Yep.
lucrative business.
It's
Yeah.
really like the get rich quick
Yeah.
scheme of a hobby.
Yes.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah. Get rich quick and go broke very, very, very slowly, you know?
Right. Follow in the footsteps of all the mega billionaires.
Yeah. Don't forget to
Yeah.
like, y'all. That's exactly
Very
correct.
true.
Since we're not using StreamYard tonight, I don't actually know how many people are watching, so I'm gonna
Oh
have to,
yeah.
my narcissism cannot be contained. What do we got here? 40 concurrent viewers. I really hope there's 40 likes on the video. Yeah. Anyway, we got our kind of topic for the night, which would be kind of loose, but is there a third way of running a game? Do you have to run a game like Matt Mercer doing the big epic story, pre-planned out encounters and everything like that, or do you have to go the full procedural route and do the old school thing, or is there some
Right.
other position? And I think the answer is yes.
Obviously, it is.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
But yeah, Max, I've never been in a game that you've run, but how do you just approach starting a new game with new people?
When I start a new game, I'm gonna decide on a setting, and I'm gonna decide on a initiating event. So there's gonna something happening, right? That drive the give some impetus for the action.
Impetus,
How
yeah.
does impetus for the action to happen? And that's what happened when you learn a language by reading.
I do that with English. As
But what?
I said I do that with English as well, on my own.
Oh yeah. So you can add some impetus for this action or for the narrative to develop, and then I remain like very very fluid. Like I posted online on my channel like a game that I run called The Witch of Duncanvale, and I just told the guy, I should put the document that I sent to the guy. I just told them like, okay, it's gonna be like about maybe late 15th, early 16th century, something like that, kind of European setting. The common people don't see magic or fantasy really. You might believe there is, you might believe they're not, you know. And basically, and you're a group of people that are sent to the church to investigate the case of a witch, right? So you have to go to this mountainous village, and then want to use a priest, and then there's a conflict between the secular world and the church. So now you also have to include like somebody from the university, like an academician, and then there's some military men that accompany you, right? And that's basically what I told them, and that's basically also what I had. I had some idea, you know, like, and then they arrive to the village, and then you make up stuff as they go, and you react to what they say, right? I wasn't even sure at the start of the game if there's gonna be a witch. Is it really gonna be a witch? Is it not gonna be a witch? That's not even clear in the end. But at some point, during the game, I thought like, oh, maybe the villagers are not happy to be there because they want to be done with those old tradition, those old like religious institution. So maybe that's gonna be a thing. But then the player do something else, and then they align themselves, and then okay, we drop that because they're not interested in that. They're going some other direction. You know, as a GM, I think you're supposed to react to what the player does, because the player control the protagonist of this narrative that we're creating together, and that's not a small part, right? They're not there to be your audience. There should be the one leading.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree.
Because the story we're coming up together is the story of those protagonists.
Right. And the like, this is one of the big things where when people talk about the amount of preparation needed to run these games, I found that once you find a good group of players, you don't really have to prep anything, because if
No,
the
not
players
at
are
all.
active and they're doing things, you can be reactive
Exactly.
to them and come up with things. And there's
Yep.
basically no prep needed.
Yeah.
From
Yep.
like I'm not making encounters, I'm not doing any of that sort of stuff, which was weird when I found kind of the old school stuff. Was that it's like, no, you should rely on these procedures to do this, use random encounters and do all of this other stuff, and I have actually found that some of that I've been incorporating, because I feel like it's taken a little bit of the cognitive load off of my shoulders. But I was already kind of doing that, like just on my own, using my imagination. But something that you
Yeah,
said
exactly.
that I found really interesting is that you should, from what I'm understanding, you should always come up with a premise about hunting down a magic user.
Exactly.
Yeah.
all RPG are about that.
Yeah.
Killing every magic user you encounter because magic is always evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's see. Primeval says, "Hey Max, been watching your review of Play with Chris. Good convos. We got Rex Teal here, which is great. But Sir Pat Cuff actually has something interesting. He says, I'm currently working on a video called Mercer versus Gygax versus Black Lodge. Is there a fourth way? Any tips for content creators?
No, there's only our way.
Yeah. The answer is there's only one way.
The third position is the one position.
Yeah, and over in Vertical Land, we got Pavlo John saying, crafting a nice little trap ambush or encounter for the players is fun, not gonna lie.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't always do literally zero prep.
Right, it's not zero
Yeah.
prep. It's a question of degree, and it's a question of like, what are you putting your efforts on, and why, right?
Yeah.
So, like you're completely right, Max. It should be protagonist driven. It player character driven.
Yeah.
And I find not only do I not want to prep or over prep, right? Because that stuff makes me tired and angry even thinking about it, like crafting encounter design and like
Yeah, God.
all the I don't want to do it, and I won't do it.
Yeah.
But more than that,
And you can't make me.
yeah, you definitely can't make me. But I don't even want to establish too defined, even of a premise, generally speaking, before I have the player characters' sort of concepts.
Yeah.
I'll have a setting in mind, right? A time
Yeah.
period, a place, a genre, all those things. I'll decide those because that's what's going to get me excited
Yeah.
to run something. I want to run something in Night City. I want to run something in Dragonlance, or I want to run something in a homebrew setting, or whatever the case may be. That being said, okay, here's sort of where we are, when we are, what this world is like. I'll pitch that to the players. Now you have sort of the foundation of how your character should fit in here. Go off, do that. By all means, talk to me and whatever, and we'll flesh it out if you want to do it that way. But I don't really want to do anything else until that is set in stone, because it's going to be the character's own motivations which are going to drive the story.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to move unless they move.
Right.
But that's also something that depends on the level of freedom you want to give your player. Because sometimes, if I'm gonna have a premise, I can say something like, "There's an army gathering for a campaign, and you're all gonna be traveling together to meet that army." Now, create character that fit with that context, and find yourself a reason that you're traveling there. You can be a cook, you can be a cleric that's gonna go offer service, spiritual service. Like you got a lot of stuff you can do.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you're gonna be there, and you create your character in function of that. You might not reach that campaign, that camp. You might reach it, and then something
Sure.
happened there. Or
Yep.
It can goes many ways. But you got a reason you're together from the start, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to know each other because you're just a group traveling together, like the Road of Canterbury or some shit like that, right?
You definitely can do it that way, and I have done it that way. What I generally prefer to do, this is part of like the fun for me, especially in the initial prep work, I guess, and in the initial session, is okay. You guys have your premise and the broad context in which your characters should exist in. Just make your characters, and I like to. There's a number of sensible reasons or sensible circumstances which will bring people together. So I generally like to not start the game or the first session, let's say, where everyone is sort of together for whatever the case may be. That makes sense. We're going to open with a scene with Max with your character, and we're going to be doing what you're doing, and we're going to change scenes to Matt's character and to Bob's whatever, and through the logical circumstances of the events that transpire, we will, within the first session, sort of come together. Now, whether you know each other or not, that's up for you guys to decide, the player characters.
Yeah.
But I like doing that. Now, I wouldn't do that for like a one-shot, right? Or for a convention game.
Yeah.
Right.
We did that for one shot actually. In the Traveler one shot, it was like far long, right?
Yeah.
A far long shot, one shot, and we all started separated, not knowing each other. At some point, like me and Crispy's character, we decided we knew each other, but like at the start, we didn't know. Like, and by the end of the session, none of the character I met every other character. But that was interesting. It was a very fun game, and Rick did a great job on that, of like going around and yeah.
Yeah, I like that. It doesn't
matter.
Again, it doesn't have to be that way
Yeah.
in one way or another.
And,
But
and even if we didn't meet, like the action of one character still impacted like the other character around, right?
Absolutely.
They still had some. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I just got to interrupt for 1 second. We got WR Winters, who's new in our chat. He's on the vertical stream. He says, howdy, found this channel from the VTM videos.
oh,
Great
hell
stuff.
yeah, man.
Yeah, we love to hear that. We're trying to reach more of the World of Darkness people.
Yes.
And
They desperately need
they
help.
desperately need help. Yeah, and those have been a lot of fun to make.
And more to come.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Yeah, and like I find like so I started running this Axe game. We're like 4 or 5 sessions in, and it's running a module. It's basically like Keep on the Borderlands, and it's done really well. Like it's very properly world built, and it even has like a table for like possible motivations for your players. You know, they're pretty cool. So it's like you can just generate a reason for why your players are all together, even individually or as a party that way. But I had one of our players has never played an RPG before, and so we're starting. You know, I explain. You know, I've taken one of these things. It's like you know, if everybody's having the same dream over and over again. Like you're watching this like bloody heart beating in just this infinite pool of darkness, and if you're lawful, it fills you with thoughts of rage and anger, and if you're chaotic, it fills you with the lust for power. And so they go and talk to the quest giver character, essentially the guy who's put out this call to, and he's like, "Oh, so you mean I have to go on this gay quest? Like I have to go and do this thing?" And I was like,
No.
no,
but-
you don't." I was like, if we're playing in good faith,
Yeah.
but if I was like, you
but
can
by,
ignore it.
By the initial premise, it's been sort of dictated to you
Right.
from the start that this thing actually does matter to your character.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But
You can't fool yourself.
Right. And so I was trying to explain to him. I was like, you can do whatever you want. You can go in any other direction. I was like, but I'll let you know there will be consequences if you ignore this. But the thing was, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, he's not wrong to ask that. Like, oh, I have to go and do this stupid premise, you know, because we just did the thing, roll up some characters, start playing immediately. You know, we didn't do any coming up with backgrounds or character concepts or anything beyond like, okay, I'm going to play a fighter, I'm going to play a bard, whatever. And if you don't put a little bit of thought into the characters, then you do have that problem of
Yes.
like, why the fuck are we doing this? And why are we, why are these people traveling together? You know, like,
But the issue is, like, especially for someone who is not, your first time out. If you've been around the hobby and you're making a concept that has zero motivation beyond, these are the things that I can do, isn't it cool? This is my race. This is my class. I come from wherever the hell I came from. That's your fault as a player, right? You didn't just spawn in. And if you made a character to just spawn in, you did that.
Yeah,
Right.
correct. But it is one of these things though where like you're in the position, like the kind of eternal question for these things is, is this going to be a railroad or some sort of a free form?
Right.
You have infinite choice, and when you're running these modules, this was something that I have always thought of, like the kind of old school method is exactly what you're talking about. Are these characters just spawning in like a video game? Why are we here? And generally the answer is, well, the players do whatever they want. It's like, but why are they even together?
Why are they here if they can do whatever
why
they
are
want?
they here if
did
they can
come
do
here?
it? Like, what can they can just walk off? It's like
Yes.
you solve a lot of problems.
My character chooses to continue walking east until he dies.
Yeah,
Of thirst.
my character sits in the tavern and goes broke. Like it's like you can do that, and most people aren't going to do that,
Right.
Because they want to actually play a game. But it is a real problem in that, like, you have this thing. Like, we watched this Matt Colville video where he comes up with this quest and like this this
Oh,
encounter,
God, yeah, this
and he's
video.
like, yeah, so if they come in here, they can do this. But what if they don't do this? And what if they don't do that? It's like, what if they turn around and don't walk into the
Right.
forest? This whole encounter doesn't matter then,
Yes.
Like,
I hate those. I hate this like this adventure design of like, I'm gonna try to plan like every fucking possible choice now just become like a guessing game. You're not like you're no longer playing a role playing game in my mind. Like you're just making like flow chart, right? And just
Yes. Yeah.
you're basically like creating like a choose your adventure book, right?
Correct.
That
Yeah.
you're gonna play at the table together. Just like, you
Yeah,
can
that's
do this, you
exactly
can
what
do
it
that.
is.
yeah. So
Yeah,
we got two
and
comments here.
if you want to play, if you play like that, you're missing out on a lot of what RPG can be good for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing is these have a unique thing to offer to you that other forms of entertainment don't. And I want to come back to that in just a moment. We do have a couple comments we should read. We got BLG, attention, all of you old VTM LARPers. We're out there. We're getting the band back together. True. But WR Winter says, your video was shared on Vampire the Masquerade B2's Steam board.
Oh shit.
Bloodlines 2
Bloodlines
Steam
2,
board.
yeah.
That's awesome. Thought the IP was dead before watching. Now I have the hopium.
Yeah. Well, if it wasn't dead before, wait till it comes out.
Yeah. But Azimuth Heath Daniel Boyer says, Mr. Boivin, is that how I say your name? I'm so sorry. I found your video about
I think it's the
men.
Boivin.
Boivin? I'm probably still saying
Boivin.
it wrong. Boivin? Okay. I can't say it right.
It's hard for him. There's song you don't have in your language. So it's
Yeah.
hard.
But he says, I found your video about men not playing women characters from last year and found it refreshing and insightful. Can you give an example that initiated this position? Likely to be a funny story.
I don't have like one stark example, but it's always when you play with those guys and like either they're gonna make like a voice and then it becomes like very annoying, or they don't make a voice, but then you always forget they're woman, and now it's always like to be remembered. It's kind of jarring as well. So like
Yeah.
I think that kind of break the immersion. Like I just find maybe maybe I wanted it harder in that video than my actual position. Sometimes you're just trying to make a point and get attention, right?
Yeah.
But I just find mostly that the risk or the cost is not worth it. It doesn't bring anything, right, to the
Yeah.
to your anything interesting to your character or to your role play.
Because you're a woman?
Yeah.
No, but like are you like either like it's and I always say in the video as well, like I don't mind if a woman role play a male character. Like I do the double standard because I think that's easier.
Yeah.
But men don't know what women think or what women wants.
Yeah.
It's a great mystery.
Yeah, that is true. Oh God, we got to.
And when a man try to play a woman, like it's always gonna be like a caricature, or
Yeah.
they're just gonna be, or the fact that she's a woman is gonna have like no impact at all. So why then
So
bother
I
at
know
all,
what was
right?
the point
Just like
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. No, I
So
agree.
so like there's like there's so many little issues that can arise from that, and then also you have always like the other PCs now, like the other like character, like sometimes they're gonna feel like a license to be a bit gross toward this female character, like flirtatious and stuff like that, which it's not necessarily something I want, right?
Right.
I won't. If they have like a female player playing a female character, that doesn't really happen because they or they happen less because they have a bit of like retinue, unless you play like with fucking insane people, like.
Yeah.
But if it's a guy like playing a female, like they feel like oftentimes like other character, like, and not always, like it depends on what you play with, but
Yeah.
like, it's all those accumulation of little thing that can go wrong. Like it's a bunch of
Right.
little thing that just can be annoying, just can be cringe, just can go wrong
Yeah.
to a point that I just say like it's just not worth it. You know,
I
you're a
agree.
dude, just play a dude.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not like a 100% absolutist on this by any means. Especially like if you have classes in a game, like an axe, for instance, you have certain classes are male are female only.
Yeah.
It's like you have a priestess or
Yeah.
a witch,
Based.
and you're like, wow, that sounds really cool, and you want to play that. That's fine. But I agree. It generally
99,
doesn't add.
99%.
Yeah.
You do have to ask why. Like, why are you actually doing this? And I actually played. So I played one female character before, and the only reason I did, and I liked that character a lot. I liked that game a lot. There was the premise of the game. It was set in a particular place, and the society of this area was such that there was a very interesting angle that wouldn't make sense with a male character. It had to sort of be. It was sort of we were doing like the what was it? We were running through the Pathfinder Reign of Winter adventure path for those who know it. And it's that country where it takes place. It's sort of the Baba Yaga land, right? You have the ice witches and all this stuff. And I wanted to play a kind of villainous character, and there's sort of a gimmick, the daughters of Baba Yaga. There's this aristocracy.
Yeah.
So I was playing this particular concept, but outside of those very specific circumstances.
Yeah.
And I would not have done that with like normies or morons.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I wouldn't have played the game with morons at all. But yeah,
Yeah. Can't always avoid.
can't
that.
always.
Yeah.
But yeah, even myself, like it's like I say, like I don't allow it. It's not like a 100% rule as well. Like sometimes I can make an exception and stuff like that. Like there's some case where like if it's a player I know, if I get the vibe, if you get a good reason for it.
You've built up.
And
The
also one
trust.
thing I want to avoid, one thing I want to avoid is like people that think like what their character is what make them interesting instead of
Yeah.
like who their character is.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's those people like are gonna think they're gonna have an interesting character because they make like they're gonna take a race and class combo that usually don't mesh out, right? Or
Yeah.
they want to play like a weird race because like, oh, that's gonna be so interesting for role play. If you think like that, in my opinion, you don't understand what role play is.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I'm also a big proponent of Pendragon,
Mm-hmm.
because like everybody in Pendragon is gonna play a human knight, and it used to be like heavily encouraged that you're gonna play like a man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would never
Now
allow
in
a female character in
No.
Pendragon.
Yeah. In the more recent edition, they're like they used to have the option to play female character, but they were like a lot of caveat around here.
Yeah.
Now they're removing those caveat a bit, and I think that's a mistake because like if everybody play a man that is a human knight, you have to find other reason to make your character interesting. You have to think about who your character is.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
It's the
If
same
you
thing
play a
about playing
female-
a magic user in Pendragon.
Yeah, exactly. It's a mistake, right?
It's a mistake.
Because now you got what make your character special, so you don't have to think further than that.
Right.
And that's
if
not
you're
what I
doing,
want.
If you're doing
When you're going against the gimmick, this is explicitly designed from the
Yep.
ground up
right.
to get you to immerse yourself in a very particular type of person.
Yeah.
And it's just like in older editions of Pendragon. It's like, yeah, here's the rule. You can play like a pagan. You can do the Merlin thing, but you really shouldn't do that.
Yeah, it's out of the defining genre of the game, and I hadn't thought of this because I haven't played Pendragon yet. But the kind of, if you're doing what is essentially like Arthurian legend, right? You are
Yes.
Knights of the Round Table,
Right.
Like to play Merlin, completely defeats
Merlin
the purpose.
was not a knight of the
Yeah,
round table.
He was something totally different.
And he
you
was
know.
unique.
And
And
he was
Merlin is
unique.
fine as a character.
Right.
Or as an NPC.
Yes, but not as a player character. And we'll get back to this in one second. We do have some super chats here, though. Matthew Pickard for $5 Canadian.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. From my experience, some railroading is inevitable, but finding ways to hide the fact that you're railroading is an important skill to have as a GM. And then he said, to be fair, women don't know what women want
Very
either. Which is 100% true.
An impossibility.
Yeah. But with regard to railroading, I don't know that I completely agree. But also my games tend to be very lethal because of that. So.
I mean, I think this is a problem of. Is it a problem of semantics? Maybe it's not a problem of semantics. It's a problem of like definitions, right? Because yeah, like there are some limitations. Why are we playing in Middle Earth and not on the Enterprise?
Yeah.
You're railroading.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's not railroading. We happened to start the session that I, the GM, railroaded you by opening the scene in this place at this time. Completely arbitrarily,
Yeah.
right? Like you had no agency in that. That's not railroading.
Yeah.
Right? There is going to be bounds, the bounds of physics, of genre, of causality.
Yeah.
That must exist where you're not saying anything, you're not doing anything.
Doc Flamingo's chiming in with a really good observation here, which is we need more women in role-playing, to give voice to the prostitutes and saucy tavern wenches who are also prostitutes.
True.
And then Matthew Pickard again for another $2 Canadian. Thank you. The pen dragon is mightier than the sword dragon. The pen is mightier than the sword. Is the gimmick
I
there,
get
yeah.
it.
That's the joke.
Well done.
And if you're male, why would you want to play an inferior creature anyway? Am I right, guys? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, K Dolo.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, but if I can chime in about the railroading thing too.
Yeah.
I disagree that some railroading is needed. Like it depends also, like, if there's a threat coming at you, right? There's some guy trying to catch you, and you just decide to ignore them, and you're just like hanging out in the tavern. And at some point, they show up and they burn the tavern down with you in it, right? That's not railroading. That's like consequence
Yeah.
Right.
for your own action. You decided to ignore the threat and stuff like that.
Right.
But there's the thing we were talking about prep earlier as well. I think the more you prep, the more you will want to use that prep. And that's something I talked when we were talking with Phil the Trill and some other guy also. I forgot who it was. But when we're like starting doing this 4D thing and stuff like that, right? And they say, oh, I'm interested in trying that. I want to join and try to run a game in that way. And we did a few sessions, and they say, you know what? I found it much easier when I prepped less, because you have like characters that are active and that are gonna control the character, and the character have motivation, they have goal and stuff like that. They're gonna do stuff to achieve those goals, right? All your prep in the end, like, kind of get in the way. So yes, you can know where to prep. You can. Some people are gonna want. I want to have some NPCs ready, right? I don't know where they're gonna be in the world. You might not meet them, but at some point, if I need somebody interesting, that's gonna be a guy interesting, right? You can do this kind of stuff. You can have like some other problem that's gonna be brewing back in the background, and at some point you can pull it off, right? Just like if you need a little push, but don't prep story beat.
Yeah.
Don't prep like, at some point you need to do this.
100%.
Because even if your players in that case aren't like, because you might have players who are in good faith along for the ride for the story. The second you introduce dice into this, though, if you use the dice rolls, that can throw the story off completely, and often does.
Yeah. Even if you and your players want a railroad, you're not going to get a satisfying railroad. You're not going to get like you said, the storytelling experience by virtue not only of the fact that the dice are there, but even if the players don't know what's going to happen, right? So they may be doing what they think is most dramatically resonant, right? And that may not be it, right? So don't think about it.
Yeah, Brother Grognard here saying the dice can kill you, and he was at our meetup last night, which was awesome. Really, we're gonna play some BattleTech and stuff soon.
Hell yeah, man.
And then we got another person over in the. Give me 1 second, I'll get to you, Max. Pavlo John says there's an old saying in military aviation: have a plan but don't fall in love with the plan seems to apply to RPGs
Yep.
as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, what's up?
Apologies.
Oh, I forgot what I was about to say in the end.
Oh,
Oh yeah, I
terrible
was saying like
guest. What are you? You're
if you,
ruining the stream,
you know,
Max. No.
sorry, I was about to say. Well, if you didn't interrupt me, I think the fault is on the host.
Completely.
if you if you go with the railroad thing, the more you do the railroad thing, the more you're gonna train your player to be passive as well. They're just gonna be
Yeah.
wait to be told the next part of the story, right? Or how to unlock and it take them out of the mindset of the character, and now they're just like trying to, oh, okay, how do we get to the next part of the story? Like, what do I need to do instead of what my character wants to do or needs to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Change the mindset, and that's the thing too. If you play a video game, if you do like this, those like fighting fantasy books, stuff like that, you're always gonna be a bit in the railroad, right? Especially in video game, and those are
Yeah.
great for that. I always go back to that. RPG can do something that all those other medium cannot do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
lean into that.
Yeah, and that's the most fun and rewarding part of the experience is this thing that
Mhm.
RPGs do that other forms of entertainment don't do, because you're not just along for a ride. You get to be an active participant in shaping this
Yep.
world that you're in. And like when there's like Macrease talks about kind of the agency theory of fun, where the most fun comes out of the fact that you can make these choices and you deal with the consequences.
Mhm.
And when you do that, that I think allows you to get into character. If you don't have any agency, then you're not really getting into character, and you don't get the kind of aha like moment that we call the immersive experience. And that is the thing that RPGs do
Yep.
that nothing else can do. Like a video game can't do this. I mean, it can do it. Like you can have like I find horror games, like first person horror games, can be
Sure.
very immersive in that sense that like yeah, you're scared and you're feeling kind of
Yeah.
like you're there, but you're still put up with all of these visible and invisible walls that you can't. I can't
Right.
go off the script.
Yes.
I'm stuck within the maze
And that's
that
something
you've
that
constructed.
that's something like when we talk about like third position as well. Like one thing that drives me fucking nuts is when people like make this dichotomy between like role playing and game, right? It's a role playing
Oh
game,
yeah,
so you need to have the role playing, but
Mm-hmm.
it also the game aspect and stuff like that. And I say no, well, role playing when you're in the mindset of your character and when you're like making up stuff as they go, that is playing the game.
yeah,
It's not
Yeah.
a separate part from like the game part of role playing game. Yes, it's also the dice and stuff like that, right? And the character sheet and those game elements, but the role playing and the interaction between us, it's also part of the game, like figuring out what's gonna happen. And when you're the GM and you go in with almost no prep, and now you have to think on your seat, right? And you have to react to what,
yeah.
that's also fucking part of the game. That's fun,
It's
right? That's
fun.
challenging.
Yeah,
And sometimes you do something and you think after the game and you say, you know what? In that situation, I should have done that. It would have been cooler.
yeah,
Sometimes that happens. You don't do the coolest thing because you're in the moment, but you did something that was spontaneous, that was
yeah,
unique,
Yep.
that wasn't planned, and that counts for something. And next time, you remember that memory, and next time you're in a similar situation, now you can do the cooler thing. We
right.
build up when it's a skill you develop, but that's all part of the game. That's it. That's this reaction there, right?
Yeah,
And this
yeah. I mean, and that is fun, and that is a skill that builds up over time. Because this is the other thing is that we have had people in the past be like, look, I'm just not good at getting into character and doing this sort of thing. It's like, well, have you tried trying?
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
like it's because
Yep.
honestly, it's like
You
the more you
you
do it,
probably haven't.
you probably haven't. Yeah, and it takes other like some people it takes more time to kind of develop the skills.
Yeah.
Some people are just good at certain types
And
of
it can be
things from the
hard
right
if
off the
like
bat.
you're in a trash game
Yes.
with people who just want to goof off. It's like,
Yeah.
yep, I get it. I
Yeah.
get it.
But
But-
it is something you can get better at over time. And that it's and as a GM having those skills of improvising, once you discover that the improvising part of it and the being on your toes is the fun part of being the game master, then it's like, oh, I just want to always do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I want to get to K Dolo here though for another $5.
Yep.
He said, just like with movies and convenience, any railroading in a game should be used as the inciting circumstances at the beginning and never after. And I agree, but
Yeah.
I don't even consider that railroading because
I
it's
know
just
it's
like
that-
here's
that's
the
just a-
premise.
No.
Yeah.
It's just a premise. Like,
Yeah, you just
Yes.
get the ball rolling,
right.
Yeah.
and then you see where it goes, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
there's nothing wrong with a premise. In fact, your premise should be, most of the time, like fairly, like loud and bombastic, and it should be clear, bold and
Yeah.
clear, understandable, and
Yeah.
propel things
And-
forward.
You got a premise, but you don't have a resolution for that premise.
Right.
Yes, yes.
Right.
don't know.
It can go in any direction. And oftentimes it can go in, because I think about things, I'm like, oh, well, it could go this way, it could go this way. And then the players inevitably find some third way
Yeah.
that I've not accounted for, which is always more
Yeah.
interesting. Speaking of third ways, but Matthew Pickard for $2 here saying, you also had a third way? Hitler. Thanks for the $2.
Well played.
Yeah. And Azimuth Heath Daniel Boyer saying the key word here is emergence. Railroading does not produce an emergent story any more than a sandbox game that is completely aimless. That is
Yeah.
correct. And we got
Well,
another super
aimless,
chat.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys are just
But
throwing money at
like
us.
wait, aimless,
Mm-hmm.
like when you say aimless,
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing too. It's what is the aim? Like does the character have goal and want to try something, right? That's
Yeah.
the thing too. It can just be that you want a sandbox, and one of the guy like, oh, I want to make myself king by my own hand. One guy say, I want this thing. Well, can they work together? If not, like then you have a shit game. But if they can work together and they try to do stuff, right? I can work with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like
You have to. There's no person who has ever lived who doesn't want something.
right. Everybody
Oh, there are
has
some people
goals. Well, yeah.
Some people might want bad, evil things.
Yeah.
And many do. But again,
Well, I mean, NPCs don't.
even if
Yeah,
don't really
NPCs
have
don't.
goals.
yeah. Well, they have very tepid goals. They haven't reached the level of like sophistication to even be a player character.
Right.
Right. But I mean, like that's even an NPC, like in the real world.
Yeah,
sense
the
of an
derogatory
NPC.
real
It's
world
like
sense. Yeah.
even they aren't just spawning in. So like,
Yeah.
if you can't be better than a regular normie, like what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are
just-
you a player character then, right?
Yeah,
Right.
the answer is you're not, and
Yeah.
get out if you can't get if you can't get better.
All right. Heard some lightning. I gotta put my dog's earmuffs on. I'll be right back. But we do have
All right.
Doc Flamingo here for $10. Says, I think there's a lot of confusion about terms. Railroading is different from having a narrative structure, i.e., planning a series of events that are going to happen in the game worlds to react to. And I'll let you guys take this.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
go
I
ahead.
wouldn't plot it out, right? It's one thing if, okay, I mean, like, here we go talking about vampire again. Like, but vampire is very, it's very useful as like a lens to look at this because the world is the city, right? So it's a small microcosm. You're generally not leaving the city. In the city, there are people. They have varying levels of power. They have various responsibilities. They have goals, and there are certain things which are taking place amongst the dynamics of the city that can happen, will happen, with or without the intervention of the players. But again, it's not a story beat thing. Okay, by session 4, this guy is I know beforehand that at session 4, this guy is going to do a double cross on that guy, and he's going to make this disaster happen. I may know these two NPCs are at odds, right? And they're working against each other. But I don't know any more than that, right? I don't know when it's going to happen. And that's the difference. Again, you have the logic of the world and the people in that world versus, okay, chapter 1, boom, this happens. Chapter 2, this happens. Then by book 2, we all need to be here, and these things are going to be taking place, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
Because
I
like
do.
you said, it's all right to have like a character that have goal in your setting and stuff like that, and they're gonna try to achieve stuff, and you can say like, or like, oh, there's an army working toward town, like they're gonna be there in 3 weeks and stuff like that, and then like
Uh-huh.
the player like control the time's flow, right? Because if they
Mm-hmm.
just fuck around, they do stuff, they go on a ship for 2 weeks, well then the army keep moving, right? The world still keep advancing.
Yes.
Right.
So there's this one thing which I support a lot. And if you play like a vampire game, maybe there's a guy that wants something like, and he got a plan and stuff like that. Like that can happen. That's a character having a plan, right? So
Yeah.
it's not a player character, but there's still character in the world.
Yep.
And if nobody interact with if like the PC don't interact with the plan, maybe things are gonna unfold. But maybe also it's not gonna be relevant anymore. Maybe it's not gonna be
Yeah.
interesting.
It may
So don't
not.
force it on your player as well. If the
Yeah.
player
Don't.
like go do
Yeah.
something else, like they fucking move away in a different city and stuff like that, well
Right.
then
The event's not
I'm not
following
gonna
them.
bring them back
Right.
to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like it might
Yeah.
happen, but then they're just gonna find out once they come back, right? They don't
Right.
know, right? And then you're gonna come back to the city and say, "Oh, now this happened while you were away."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there those things. But
And
sometimes
and
also,
that's
like
a
the
that's a
narrative goes somewhere else. We're telling a story of those protagonists, right? Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
well, if there's enough going on, there's something interesting, you can let it go. Those idea, right?
Yeah.
Just like
And you
you
should
can let
let
you
go.
can let them go.
yeah.
Keep them for the day. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You should let go, and that is something though is that I really like doing is the NPCs. They don't just disappear when the player characters leave. Like they have
Yeah.
plans and they do things, and when people come back through different locations that they've already been at, like the world should have kept turning. They're not
Yep.
simply a literal, like it's not like the blacksmith in Diablo who's just always
He's always
sitting there.
there.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't make him move. He's always going to be there.
Right. Exactly. It's the type of thing that like they're out doing things, and the world especially is out doing things. And this is something that I think that like campaign setting books, if you're using those, they should have uh, like world event tables, or at least inspiration for events for things that can just be happening. It doesn't, and these aren't like story things. It's just like, there's a festival going on, or
Yep.
an army moved through here or is moving through here. Things that can be unexpected to you, but give you inspiration. And I don't even care if you roll on the table or if you just look at it every once in a while and pick
Right.
one. Like doesn't really matter. But the world should turn. Like there should be things going on, because that's and it's not just about like portraying a living world. It's also just giving them more opportunities to do stuff. Like
Right.
different
They're
things to
not
latch
forced-
onto. It's like what's happening. They're like, oh,
Yes.
that's a festival. That's interesting. Let's go check that out. And now
Well,
you're
it's not interesting.
new
Right.
NPCs
But
that are going to be talking to them. And yeah,
Right.
I would also say, like, like make those things happen when they have nothing to do with what's happening as well, like as a background stuff, right? Maybe they're just going through that town. Maybe they want something, but now there's a
yeah,
festival going on. You
Mm-hmm.
don't expect necessarily like they don't have to interact with it,
Right.
but if you just have like those things happening in the background, right? It make
yeah,
the world feel alive.
right. And this is
Yeah.
You just
Primeval
don't want to do
Fantasy.
like
Yeah, exactly. Primeval Fantasy says once a campaign is in full swing, another serious duty of the GM is to adjudicate all of the cause and effect chains reverberating throughout the world. Sometimes those effects reach the PCs, sometimes they don't. And this is, yeah, exactly. It's like you've got, let's see, K Dolo says that the festival is never interesting. It's an example. But yeah, it's this whole thing of like thinking through like second and third order effects. This is actually where most of the drama comes from in the games that I run, is that players do something wild, or they leave a witness alive, and I'm not just like, what does that person do? It does. They don't always come back to bite them in the ass, but
Right.
usually, it's like
Yeah.
like the people, even just someone who survives a combat encounter, who might not have been an enemy or something like that. That person is probably going to be changed by that or do something in the background that can come back later on in the game.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's like the kind of like all the different ripples that the players cause throughout the world are something that you should think about, and they should come back to the players if it makes sense for that to happen.
Yeah, and
when
go ahead.
when you say like the festival is never interesting, like I'm not saying that you should have like a festival and then the goal of the session, we're gonna do like go some tombola game and like try to bite
Yeah,
apple from and roll to bite an apple into the but that's not what I'm talking
yeah,
about. But if there's a festival happening, maybe there's consequence that festival, like now there's no room to be out because all the inn are full, or maybe there's like
hmm
the policing is much more strict, or or there's drunk people everywhere, right? Stuff like that does interact with the
yeah,
PCs,
Yeah.
does get in their way, that is stemming from an event in the world. Is not just like random because you want like there's a justification for it. It's just something that happens, right?
yeah.
So
Right.
that's
It's
interesting. Not necessarily like, oh, let me tell you about this. Like you don't use a festival necessarily for lore dump.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very a case of
yeah,
show don't tell, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's
Exactly.
not about like, oh, now we're gonna do this
It's
little session. We're gonna play like festival game.
it's a
Yeah.
high
Don't do
holy
that.
day to a diametrically opposed faith than yours,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the high holy day of Asmodeus. Okay, you have like you have like, all right, like you that can it happen in like a fantasy world? And this is we were rightly ragging on people for like tepid, boring, like one-dimensional characters. This is also this is part of like the onus is on the GM. If you want to get better at this, even setting aside the question of sort of what is or what isn't relevant to the player characters, because ultimately that's on them. Like you want to get rid of the invisible walls, right? You
Yes.
want to make this show people that this is not a video game, this is not a novel. Holidays happen. If you have 12 like major religions,
Yeah.
or even if you have like a monotheistic religion, like here's the saint's feast day. Here's all of these things will happen in a complex, real, living world,
Yeah.
right? And so you have to do this to make the world feel more believable.
Yeah.
To to give the flavor, to give the breath of life to this setting where the player characters are living out their lives and trying to pursue their goals here.
Yeah. W.R. Winter is over in the vertical chat saying, nobody's ever lived who didn't want something. Have you ever heard of Siddhartha, sweetie?
So
And monogamous many modern players like being railroad. Many modern players do like being railroaded. That's true.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
But like I think it's unfortunate. I think it's because they haven't been taught otherwise, right?
Right. They've
Yeah.
never had any
They
experience where they could have
Right.
agency.
and to be honest, like it's easy. Like if you just want to be entertained, like you just can sit there with your friend, you're being told a story and stuff like that. Like it's very low effort.
yeah,
Yes.
just watch a
So then why
movie
bother?
together.
Right?
Like
Yeah.
I just watch a movie together. I like watching movies with my friends.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
I don't. I just don't want to do that while
Yeah.
I'm doing this thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it is
And it's boring for the GM too. For me as a GM, I fucking find it boring.
it's
Like I'm
so
just gonna
much
tell you a
fucking
story,
work.
like I'm just like
Yeah, it's
I'm
just
gonna role
work.
play your character. And that. Yeah.
Fuck you, like
Yeah.
you asshole.
I'm a player too.
Yeah, you wasted my time,
Yeah.
which I hate. K Dolo is that I believe. The festivals in 5e books are never interesting. That I believe 100%.
Let's see here. We got
Yep.
Scam Viking saying GMs should always keep strict time. Sorry, my dog is not happy about the thunder right now. Just snorting.
And you can put him like earmuff and he keep them on.
Oh yeah. They snap
Oh, yeah.
on. She'll try to take them off
Oh.
after a while. I gave her catnip.
So they're like
earlier.
dog earmuff.
Yeah, they're like hearing protection like you'd wear at a shooting range, but for dogs. But I also
I
gave her
didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my dog really hates lightning. Like really hates lightning. I gave her catnip earlier too, though, because for dogs it actually acts as a sedative, like a mild sedative, whereas cats it makes them crazy. But yeah, she's not happy right now. I can't leave her alone when she's like this. It's very frustrating. Let's see here though. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, keep strict timekeeping. Like I agree with that. You like strict, like not necessarily like every time, especially like if the day pass, the player are like wasting time. They go to sleep. Yeah, keep track of that. Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
stuff happen.
Yeah. Again, the world keeps moving.
Right.
Right. It's not
Mm.
static.
Yeah, exactly. That's something I've ignored quite a bit in the past. The passage of time, the real passage of time in games.
Right.
Let's see here. Someone's tagging me here. Megan Delacroix says, Black Lodge Games, what young Steve was just saying reminded me of one of the biggest pet peeves. Pretty much all D&D settings get polytheism completely wrong. They treat it like multiple monotheisms.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's completely
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
The world, a polytheistic world that actually, was the animating spirit of multiple societies would be almost unrecognizable.
Well,
in
yeah,
many
it's like you
ways.
look at like the Romans, the way they viewed the early Christians. Their kind of mindset was like these people are like atheists basically, because like their conception of what gods were was completely like a completely different thing. Yeah, I've not seen outside of I think Within the Ring of Fire, just because it's so crazy.
Within the Ring of Fire
Yeah.
is not It's not believable.
It's not believable,
But,
that's
it is.
kind of the
It
charm.
is interesting. It
Yeah,
is,
that's kind of the charm.
interesting and incredibly evocative. But you haven't seen it done yet.
Yeah.
I'll just say.
Canucksrums in the vertical chat says keep time when it's important. And then we got Great Gold Worm
But that's
saying,
the thing, you don't know when it's important, and it's always
Yeah.
going to be important.
right,
And like at some point, like you don't want like, oh, now it's gonna important, but I don't know how much time passed since
Yeah,
just
you should.
yeah,
it
You
doesn't
always
take
have to
that much
keep it
effort.
in mind.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's so easy too to do the crazy. I went from level 1 to 10 in 4 days of game
Right.
time. If you're not
Yeah,
really
exactly.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
Great Gold Worm saying exactly right. I've created a 13-month calendar with holidays for my homebrew game. I've
Nice.
started using the Hyperborean calendar, which I think is 13 months, and it's just 28 days per month, so it's very easy. It's just 4
Yeah.
weeks. It's working out. It's working out really well. I haven't done the
Yep.
the one-to-one time thing yet, but I am going to give that a shot because it does actually sound pretty interesting to me.
There's another reason
Yeah, a lot of
why-
people like misunderstand one time as well.
Oh yeah, I did.
That's something that
Yeah,
what?
I did. I
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah,
misunderstood it.
Yeah. It's only like it's not what it's like only in the downtime between session that is one
Right.
to one basically. Like when you're at the table, like yeah, if you want to do like if you want to role play for 3 days during your session, right? You
Yeah.
can, or for 3 weeks you can.
Yeah,
It just means you won't be able to role play those character again for 3 weeks.
right.
You have to have the world time to catch up.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know why people like misunderstand it so much.
I don't
It's
know why
not that
people-
complicated. Yeah.
I know it's really not that complicated. That's the appeal of it too, is that it's really easy. The only thing that I put out a question recently because right now we're playing a single party, we're doing this dungeon crawl through this module, and once we're done with it, hey, come here, don't go over there. When we're done with the dungeon crawl, I want to give this a shot, but I was like, okay, should I put whenever they get into time jail and they have to make new characters, should they be somewhere else in the world, or if they're too close, is that going to allow them to try and exploit time problems and cause issues? So I'm trying to figure that out still. Some people basically, it was kind of split 50-50 as to whether to keep them in the same region or not. But it does, the kind of appeal of it too is if you're putting your characters in time jail and you want to keep playing, you have to play new characters. And I like that idea of like troop style play
Yeah,
and having
it's a different style.
multiple
Yeah.
things affecting the world from different areas. Come here.
Mm-hmm.
Come here. You guys can continue talking. I just gotta
Yeah.
get the dog.
Yeah, it's this is another reason why Dragonlance is the best published D&D setting, because it has an in-world consequence of for timekeeping. If you have
Yeah.
any of the Wizards of High Sorcery, what phase the moon is in and what robes you are is going to dictate mechanically how much power you have and sort of what you can do. And obviously your character will be paying attention to and aware of the moon cycle. this is a thing that would you would have conscious awareness with regards to your decisions.
What the fuck? This thing, the volume keeps going down on the mic. That's really frustrating. Sorry about that, guys. But thank you guys for letting us know in the chat that the mic is low.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so someone also... So talking about the moon cycles as well, that's really important if you're playing fucking werewolf.
Yeah,
Like-
right. Yeah.
You need to know what the moon is doing.
Yes.
Phil the Thrill saying he needs more festivals. My Pantheon is better than yours. Let me prove it by erasing your people, some cleric player. That would be a good cleric player.
That you'd actually be
Yeah, you'd actually be role-playing the cleric.
right, rather than like this. It's not even like ecumenicalism. It's just like I'm basically an atheist. I don't believe in anything, let alone my own supposed faith.
Right. But somehow my god keeps granting me miracles.
Life-altering powers.
Yeah. A good game setting will give you holidays as possible seeds and food for thought. That's true.
Yes.
And yes, it's the lunar calendar. 13 months, 28 days.
Yeah.
If
And
you're
that's the
not
thing
so
also, like-
powerful, then why can I smite you?
If you don't mind me talking a bit about the those calendar thing, like keeping stuff, like sometimes you see like people like, oh, in my game, a week is gonna be 12 day, and then they have all those crazy names and stuff like that. And then at some point, like, what does it bring to your game? It makes your world more unique, but in a way that doesn't fucking matter at all, right?
In a way that
You're just like making it like harder for the.
Yeah.
Sorry?
It's the most forgettable way possible. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. But I see a lot of people try to do that, and like, don't make the fucking setting the star of the show. The player character are supposed to be, right. The setting is the background where they evolve. So the thing that don't matter like that, keep them simple. Like, don't fucking make up like new word for no good reason, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So you can like keep it simple, so you can so the player can make assumption, and so it gets out of the way, so we can focus on the. You don't want to do. Oh, actually, in that game, like a week is 9 days, right? Just
Yeah.
like,
By the
who the fuck
way,
care?
Yeah.
like you fucking
Yeah.
asshole.
Yeah.
Like
We also don't use kilometers or miles. We have a different
we have
designation.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and the distance
Yeah.
is somewhere
exactly,
in
like
between a
sometimes-
kilometer and a
Yeah.
mile. Yeah.
Actually, a day is 25 hours
Yeah.
long. Like, okay, thank you. That means nothing.
Yeah,
to
and it's
me
the same thing
has
with religion as well.
Yeah.
Like just fucking copy some just like take some religion from the real world, like change it again like a little bit that you can say in one sentence. Oh, it's this but that, right?
Right.
It's X but Y. All right, we get it, right?
Yeah.
I can work with that.
And that's a kind of a broader thing too, just about like designing a campaign world. I really think that people should draw a lot from history, even if it's not. You don't. It doesn't have to be like, oh, this is literally fantasy, like
Or it's
Poland
just-
or something like
right.
that. It's like you can. But drawing conflicts from history, there's so much there
Yeah.
for inspiration, and
Yep.
it immediately gives it a sense of reality because it was real, depending on who wrote the history. But Stormcrow says, Black Lodge Games, howdy y'all. First time commenting on you guys. Anyways, I'm developing a tropical cyberpunk setting called Sierra.
Oh, damn.
I'm using Cyberpunk Red. Any advice on how to make that engaging?
Watch our Cyberpunk Miami. Right? That's cool. I mean, the thing, I don't know what. If it's tropical, right? That's just sort of like. That's just flavor. That's not. I don't know. The cyberpunk would still be cyberpunk, right? Like, you'd have that dynamic.
But you can think of like all the fact that it's tropical. How does that impact the cyberpunk aspect, right?
Right. And
Yeah.
he
What
says,
does it change? Like, oh, now people are not gonna run around with big trench coat or some shit
Yeah.
like that,
right,
right? Or
exactly.
people like-
Yeah.
Like, how do you do cyberpunk in flip flop, right?
Hell yeah.
He says, for more context, I only ran one Deadlands one shot, and I've been a player for 5 sessions. That's the extent of the TTRPG career. Well, I would say just jump in. Get in over your head,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, get in over your head.
Yeah, get in over your head and
Yeah.
break things. Let the players break things.
Island
too.
hopping would be cool.
Island
Like,
hopping would be cool.
Yeah, like you're in
Each-
either the Caribbean or some new archipelago that opened
Yeah.
up because of some mega corporation war, and so you have these different like banana republics. You
Yeah.
don't have like Night City, where
Right.
sort of one thing is maybe you have
Yeah.
like one megacorp or one like cartel.
Artificial island.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Seasteading. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Let me
There you
see
go.
here. I've not given much thought to polytheism on a cultural level, in contrast to the world we know now. Any suggested reading or watching suggestions?
Well, I would not advocate polytheism, generally speaking, but you should a really good book. I talked about it before. Is called The Ancient City by. I left my phone at home. I don't recall the gentleman's name. It was a very long, very French name. If I had it in front of me, Max could help me with the pronunciation. But
But
it's
he
just
won't.
look for the it's called The Ancient City, and it gives a really good, very understandable and really interesting breakdown of like religion in the ancient world from like the ground level all the way up.
He says, I'm a native born Puerto Rican and I'm sick and tired of my people not being represented. Puerto Rico can be a shithole like California, too. That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, that's the way to do it. You do your own stuff then.
Yeah.
Phil the Thrill says, yeah, a manufactured archipelago resort.
There
Yeah,
you go.
exactly. And you can have one that's like a factory, like a
Yeah.
mega factory, like a dreadnought type of a thing.
Yeah.
You can have one that's completely run by organized crime. You can have one that's
An
like
island
the Apple
that is
Store.
a resort, right?
Yeah.
So you're the plebs, and you have the super rich folks as who are vacationing. They're not.
Yeah.
They are businessmen or whatever, but
Primeval Fantasy.
yeah.
This is the book, The Ancient City. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Wait,
Let's
that's
see
not
if
French.
Max can
Oh,
find
well,
it.
Coulange. Yeah, Coulange is the last name, but like the Pustbel, that's not French. We put like vowel still. We're not like putting Polish or Czech. But
those filthy mongrels.
Drug Factory
yeah,
Corporation
Coulange.
Island like actually exists in the Philippines. Yeah.
Yeah, but check that book out.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, this one. I'll put this back up for you for the moment. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do with that. But
Oh, Denis Fustel de Coulange. Yeah.
let me see here. Bruce Sterling, Islands in the Net, Island Hopping Brain. Okay, so yeah, Canucks Room in the vertical chat saying Bruce Sterling, Islands in the Net, Island Hopping Brain Food.
Interesting.
So check that one out. Abandoned Oil Refinery, thanks you, Metal Gear Solid 2. Yeah. Bum. I found the book I was thinking of, read it in college a while ago, An Introduction to Roman Religion by John Scheid, or Sheed.
Yeah, and I think also with politism, like one thing that, and I might be biased on that, obviously, because I'm very Catholic. But like politism doesn't offer like the same kind of like moral framework that monotheism does, because you have a bunch of
Yes.
gods that all have different values and stuff like that, and you can
Right.
always find a god that agree
Yeah.
with whatever you want to do, right? And people
Yeah.
don't worship one god; they worship the pantheon and stuff like
right.
that. And even when you meet like a foreign people, you have a bunch of gods, so yeah, those other people, their god can exist too. Like, and they're not my god. Like, and people always try to mesh them. Like, oh, Jupiter. Oh, that's like Thor, right? That's why, like in French, we call Jupiter like jeudi, which is like Jupiter dies, like the day of Jupiter. And in English, you call him Thursday because it's the day of Thor, right?
Right.
And same thing with Wednesday, which is like the day of Woden.
Yep.
We call it Mercredi, which is the day of Mercury, because Odin and
The
Mercury were
syncretism.
linked. Yeah.
Yeah. It really.
So
It's like I've mentioned this before. Religion is the worst thing about all settings. Like that's the most glaring,
Yeah, it's very
Oversight.
poorly done.
exceptionally poorly done.
well, it's also like we're especially here in the West, right? Christianity had such a big impact on our society, on our moral and stuff like that, that
Yeah.
people don't realize how much, right? It's like the fish that you ask how's the water and say like what's water, right?
What's what?
Just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we're so much immersed in it. Then like all of system of values, our way to see the world, our laws, stuff like that, they're all impacted by that.
Yes.
So
We've also got
it's
Magonis
very
in
hard
the.
for the modern mind to think. Sorry.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, no,
Very
no.
hard.
I completely agree.
Almost impossible.
It's almost impossible, and the other part of it too is that I think the way that we as like modern people think of even the religions that have been around for thousands of years, our frame of reference has changed pretty significantly to the people who believed in those things at the time. And so even recreating that kind of early belief system is in a game is very, very difficult. But we had someone in the vertical chat also offering a recommendation for books. It says, "Oh, if we're doing history, the 12 Byzantine Rulers and the Sorrows of the Ancient Romans are terrific books."
Nice.
And he also says most religions are written by writers who have never believed in anything beyond politics.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Most of the people who've made these games are horrible people.
Yeah. And Baron Vladimir Harkonnen says religion is my favorite aspect in RuneQuest.
Well, that is high praise from Gidi Prime.
Yeah. With the black infrared sun.
Yeah. Yeah, RuneQuest is the game is the setting that may have done it the best. In fact, they've definitely done it the
I'm
best.
I'm not familiar with RuneQuest. I know like they use the BRP system and stuff like that, which I'm familiar with, but I never read any of RuneQuest. And to be fair, like I'm very not a setting guy. I find like most setting fucking sucks. And usually I buy a game. I'm interested in rules, right? I want like tell me about your mechanics, right? I don't fucking care about your setting. I'm probably gonna rip it off anyway.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
take it off and do my own thing, right?
You
And
should
also
check
like
out
I don't like Mistress.
Yep.
That's
Which is
sort of RuneQuest, right?
It was RuneQuest 6. It uses basically the RuneQuest rules, but it's system neutral. It has an implied
Yeah.
You mean
like
setting
sword
neutral.
and sorcery like genre that it wants you to use,
Yeah.
or you could use it in anything.
Yeah,
God
I like
damn it,
that. I like when there's an
fucking thing.
implied setting.
Yeah.
No,
The fucking
I
microphone.
like when there's an
turned down, you
implied
can say.
setting,
Uh-huh.
and when the
Yeah.
rules inform you about like the world and stuff like that. I think that's great, right? That's needed. Like I often like take the example of like D&D and Warhammer Fantasy, right? On the outset, the setting can be very similar, but just when you read, just because of the rules, the two games feel different, right? Because one is much more
Yes.
lethal, one is much more like much more like a you play superhero and stuff like that, right? And I think that's great, but I don't fucking care that you tell me about like, oh, in the year 1112, like the king was this guy and he ruled. Like I don't fucking
Yeah.
care about that. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna read
it's-
it. I don't.
that's
I'm
too
not
much.
like for
It's
history
not
that's
relevant to
fiction in the
any-
world. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not relevant to
Exactly.
anything that you're going to do in the game.
Yeah. Unless you're
Yeah.
I mean, and this isn't part of like the core rule book, but unless you're doing something like the Great Pendragon campaign, where it's like, okay, we're living through, from this year to this year. Now you don't need to read the full history of what actually happened in those. You don't need like a PhD in medieval history, but here are some
Yeah.
big things that are going to happen this year. Absent
I don't know if you ever. Have you ever looked at the Great Pendragon campaign book?
I've skimmed it, but
I have not.
no,
Huge
no.
book. It's a
Yeah,
huge
I
fucking
know
book.
that it's a gigantic book. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this book should have been like a third the size, and should just be like bullet point of like important stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
every year, like 3 or 4 bullet point. That's it. Oh, this, and let the GM make it up. Don't give me all the detail. Like, and oh, this guy did this. That was notable, right? And I can add more flavor to it, and then every fucking campaign is gonna be unique. That should be
Right.
the
Yeah,
way to do
no,
it. I think like
that-
I'm not a big fan of the way they did it.
I want a setting that gives me a definite vibe. Yeah, and like there are certain things that I want to know. Like I do want to know, are there like major political factions and things like that? But you're right, the level of granularity that most people go into is completely pointless, and it doesn't it actually takes away from the experience for me at that point, because I do want a lot of blank space to fill in my own stuff.
Yeah.
I do agree there to an extent. I think I do want more detail than you do generally, but
Yes,
but a
I think
lot
so.
you're very right. A lot of people spend way too much time on shit.
And they
that
spend it
doesn't
on the
matter.
wrong thing. They
Yeah.
spend the efforts on the wrong thing. Again,
It's
it's
shit
back
that
at the
doesn't
beginning.
matter
It's
at all.
like what are you focusing your efforts on? If you're focusing your efforts on something that is ultimately meaningless, like I know people who have tried to run games set in like a historical period. Okay, this is actually Charlemagne's France. This is actually the
Right.
Byzantine Empire. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I need to know. Well, it was actually on a Wednesday and not a Thursday, and it was 11:26 and not 11:25. Where they like shut the fuck up. Like I don't care. And the fact that you're so like drilled down and autistic about like what day, what month, the like you've already lost it.
Nobody
and
fucking
sure enough,
cares.
you know, everyone I know who has done that burns themselves out. They either never run the game or they get to session 2 max
Yeah.
and it's over.
Yeah.
Once again, Magona's saying
Yeah,
if your lore doesn't interface with the players, it's almost entirely useless.
Yeah.
Yes, and also like you have to understand that the lore and the book and stuff like that, like what's in the book, it's there to serve your game. Your game is not there to serve the lore, right? So, starting from even from session 0, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like what's in the book, that's a starting off point.
Right.
Your game is gonna diverge
Yes.
almost immediately, and just
Yeah.
fucking run with it, right? And like we talk about how you liking more lore than I do, more setting than I do. Like you're like a World of Darkness kind of guy, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I played a fair bit of it, especially like Werewolf and stuff like that. And there's some stuff in the Werewolf lore that I find fucking cool, right? Oh, the
Yeah.
tribe, the clan with the Umbra and stuff like that. That's cool. That's fine. And like the thing with the Black Spiral Dancer and the Weaver, the Worm,
Yeah.
the Wild. All this is cool, but all this can be told like as a bunch of bullet points in one page.
Yes.
And that's for me, that's what it
Yeah.
should be. And then let me fill in the blank. Like let my brain of the GM and the player fill in the blank and interpret what we get from those broad concepts. Don't give me all the detail, right?
Right. That's
Like
and that is
let my
actually
imagination run wild with it.
Right.
yes, I completely agree, and that's one reason that the old World of Darkness stuff, with all of its prophecies and NPCs and the meta plot, I did hate that. By
was
the
bad.
End. It was very
Yeah.
bad, and it left essentially no room for your own kind of creative interpretation, and that was what I found to be the big advantage of the new World of Darkness reboot that everyone hated, was that it didn't have any lore. You had
Right.
Yeah.
your clans that had like some flavor text basically about them.
Yeah.
You had a couple of political factions, and the rest of it was a mystery, and it was deliberately a mystery. And vampires that went into torpor, when they woke up, they've just been having these like psychic nightmares for 1,000 years, and their memory is Swiss cheese, so they don't even remember. They can't remember what's real and what isn't about their own past. So it's like everything is lost to time, and that was very liberating for me. So I very much agree there. Like I would never want to play another game that had as much fucking lore as Vampire the Masquerade.
I would never. I would
like-
never use the lore.
Yeah.
I often say like deep lore and stuff like that. That's the stuff for nerds, right? Nerds fucking love it. Like they
Yes.
watch Star Trek, and they don't just watch Star Trek and enjoy the show. They want to know like every fucking little detail about the
Yeah.
world and stuff like
Yeah,
that,
the
right?
bulkheads and
Yeah.
Yeah,
Engineer,
exactly. All the
Engineer
different
Bob
shit.
was on deck 37, room 119. Like,
yeah.
please die. Like,
Yeah, Rex Teal
Yeah.
saying here, maybe rather than writing the history of a setting, make rules that simulate the setting.
yeah. Well, the rules should always simulate
Yeah.
the setting. Even if you wanted to do like
Yeah.
a meta plot lore dump, your
Yeah.
mechanics should support that setting.
Yeah, and then Doc Flamingo with a whopping
Holy shit, dude.
$20
You're out of your mind.
super chat here says, thinking about a pre-campaign game where players make a god in a pantheon, the GM moderates a conflict between them to establish the mythology where each creates a client race. Game begins with the designed races as playable. Yeah, so there's actually, if you follow Harmony Ginger on Twitter, that is exactly what she just did with her players. They ran like a month long kind of Bronstein type thing where they were all playing gods, and they created their own races and things like that, and put them all over as kind of the starting point of the campaign. And they just had their first session where they're actually playing in it as characters. I'm totally down with that. I've had people play gods for like a couple scenes in a game just to like shake up the divine order. I'm totally down with that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's like it's like a
And I'm all,
collaborative world building thing, right?
Yeah.
yeah, I'm very down with that. And if you're gonna play a religious character, make your own. Like, tell me who your god is that you worship and
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is important for it. Like, I don't, and you can make it up as you go as well. I don't need to know beforehand necessarily, right? But that's also like when we talk about like the 40 role play, right? When we're very open to co-creation, right?
Uh-huh.
And then like, and even in the Witch of Duncanville game, I told the guy, it's a game that religion has a big part. I didn't tell them all the religion was about. Like, think maybe Christianity, but like with the like and but then you're welcome to put like to make stuff as you go. And then they made like saying, and they made like some tradition and some, and that's cool. And then like the player are a good player, so they run with it, right?
Yeah.
A player fucking make up something on the spot and it become canon, and now the other player pick up on that, and they can add to that later on. And that's cool. That's part of the experience.
Yeah. Sorry, we got
Silence.
police driving by or something. Let me see here. But we do have Stormcrow saying, I'm going to bite back on the World of Darkness comment. There's so much insane apocalyptic threads one can use to lure the players deeper. TPK by Papa Kane all the way. I don't ever want to use Kane.
If
in a
your
game.
player, if Kane is the only one who can stop them, there's a problem.
If Kane is getting involved in the game,
If Kane exists, if you statted out Kane, like,
yeah.
burn your books.
I mean the
But you're not wrong. Like, parts of the lore are cool, as you said, Max. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like some things are undisputably cool and interesting. But I don't
And
need
the
to
fact,
use them.
if it's not specified in the book,
Yeah,
if it's just like a line, like just like a bullet point, stuff like that, it doesn't mean you cannot use it.
yeah,
yeah.
It means you have to make it up, right? And
Yeah.
then maybe you're not gonna come up with something as cool as what the designer did. Maybe you will come with some up cooler, right?
yeah,
But anyway, it's gonna be your own. It's gonna be unique, right? There's like this big line. Oh, Cain is the first vampire and stuff like that. Nobody know where he is. What
Yeah.
happened to him, right? There you go. You leave it at that. Now, if you
He's
want to play
me.
with
I'm
that
playing
for some
him.
reason,
Yeah.
yeah. What's interesting, like, is the one positive thing I guess I'll say for the World of Darkness meta plot is it was something that was never done before. It was definitely an ambitious experiment,
Oh yeah.
and they didn't know certainly how it would turn out. And what's interesting to me is, and I don't know why this is, either because it was maybe so poorly received, but to my knowledge, no game has ever tried to do a meta plot in the way that World of Darkness did since World of Darkness ended,
Yeah.
which is interesting to me. I would have thought there would have, especially how popular, especially Vampire was, that there would have been more copycats.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some things that exist out there, but I'm not aware of any.
I think there's not anything that's really grabbed the culture like Vampire did though.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure there's been enough monetary incentive for different lines to create
Yeah.
a game like that.
And there never will be now, which is fine because they shouldn't.
Yeah.
They shouldn't do that,
Yep.
in my opinion.
I don't want to buy tons and tons and tons of
Yeah.
books for a game line. It's like I want enough to
But it
just,
is interesting because I think people are, like, again, you have like Hasbro trying to monetize, like that is a monetization strategy, right?
Yeah, but it's
And
not
it's
guaranteed to work.
It's not guaranteed to work. That's
Yeah.
true.
I'm always been like a big like core book guy only,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And do your fucking book in one book. I hate like okay, D&D, you kind of got like a earn right, but like usually like just do me one book, And if I
Yeah.
cannot play
Yeah.
your game with the single book, right? Then
Right.
maybe your game is not that great.
Yeah.
Like I fucking hate the supplements. Like, but yeah, like I bought when I was younger, like some supplement for game and stuff like that, and then you're all excited and you went to add like new stuff in the game, and
Yeah.
you always feel like it make the game worse in the end. Like it become
Yeah,
clunky, got like full
it's
of
too
option.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Even if it's all perfectly designed, whatever that even means.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
too much to keep like in your mind, right? Especially back in the
yeah.
day.
And a lot of
There's
core
30
book,
supplements.
a lot of core book are like twice as long as they should be,
Oh
right?
my
Yeah.
god, I
Oh,
know.
yeah.
I know.
Or 4 times as long. Like,
Yeah, it's like so like
Yeah.
as an example, a good length for your core book is how Streets of Peril was done. This is I think 160 pages.
Yeah.
That
Is
includes
that a core book or is that I thought that was a supplement.
so this is the core book. The
Yeah.
supplement
Was
just
just
got kickstarted.
kickstarted.
And so the PDF is out. I
Oh.
haven't had a chance to read it yet. But yeah, this is
What's
160
the name of the supplement
pages.
again?
Storms
Street
over Sternberg.
Yeah. Streets Over Peril
Oh,
is
okay,
the
okay.
game
I
line.
got confused.
Yeah, and
Yep.
then Storms Over Sternberg is the setting expansion
Yep.
for a particular region that has a little bit of a write up that you can use to like run an adventure in it in this book, but it's like a full book expanding it. But this is like core systems, equipment lists,
Yeah.
a little bit of lore for you to use.
Yeah, there's
it's got
there's,
a full
there's setting.
bestiary.
It's enough
like,
setting to be evocative, but it's not
Right.
Overbearing.
yeah, there. It's like it very much gives you the feel of like this mythical, like Holy Roman Empire.
Yeah.
And gives you a couple of factions. It's very well done.
I
This
want to
is
see
the
how many
size.
pages Mithras is.
Yeah,
'cause
this is how
we have it
thick
here.
your most TTRPGs should be. I'm willing to give an exception for anything written by Alexander McCrease, but much longer than this, and I'm like, why?
Yeah, and, like like I say like I'm not saying that there should be a page limit and stuff like that. I'm just saying like when you read a book, oftentimes you say like that could
Yeah.
have been cut, that could have been cut, that could have been like much
Yeah.
shorter. You're way too verbose on that, right? Just
It's like watching a
learn
movie
how to
now,
write,
though. Like
please.
every fucking movie is 2.5 hours or 3 hours
Yeah.
long. It's like it should be 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Most movies
Yes.
now are fucking useless too, so
Yeah,
that's
it's,
worth watching.
it's so much shit that should have been cut.
Big truth.
Movies that shouldn't have even been made in the first place. You know,
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
yeah, I am a big fan
Yeah.
of brevity, and like I said, I'm
Yeah.
willing to give McCrease a pass because his rules are so comprehensive, and that just requires page count. But if you're like nobody else on Earth should ever write an RPG as big as Axe.
No, never again.
Yeah, but even reading like my Chris and stuff like that, sometimes something could be like stated like more succinctly, right?
Yeah,
He doesn't
I
have like the
agree with you
most efficient writing style.
yeah.
I like my Chris. I like the guy and stuff like that, but
I think
Yeah.
a lot of that has come out of though. It's not just the number of rules; it's that people have constantly asked him for clarification. Because he was saying in the
Yeah.
in his Discord recently, he's like, strictly speaking, a lot of the rules are totally superfluous in a lot of ways. Like you don't need to use everything, but people have continually asked him like over and over again for these clarifications that he's put them in there, and it's actually been kind of helpful in a couple of instances running the game, like for sure. But there's a ton there. Something I did find that was pretty funny. There's a lot of little like kind of funny turns of phrase and bits that he has in the throughout the books. But there is one section in the Judge's Journal talking about encumbrance where he has these really, really granular encumbrance rules. And I was like, holy shit, I hope this is not how you're expected to play the game. And at the end of the section, it says, "It is my sincere hope that you never have to use these encumbrance rules. But if you have the player, that finds the way to like, oh, well, I'm carrying, I'm carrying a toilet on my right shoulder, and I have 6 bags of gold draped from one arm. It's like there's rules to like be like, fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
you can't do that.
That's kind of funny as like a troll, but like also
I'm just not allowing that at the table.
The actual masculine based answer is
Get the fuck
get
off
the
my
fuck
table.
out,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna like
yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
so
but like most, like and also like sometimes like I'm not opposed to like a game to have more rules than it need really, like because like you don't have to use all the rules.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and sometimes it's easier to take away than to add, right?
that's true.
And
Yes.
sometimes like a rule is only gonna be like useful if we do this specific type of game, of tone, of setting, of adventure, right?
Yeah.
And now the rule become important. But in most other game, it won't, right? Like
Yeah.
if you do like if you just play in a city and stuff like that, maybe you don't have to worry about survival rules so much. But if you do like
Right.
a trek to the
Right.
desert, right? Just like then, oh, now maybe you're gonna pay a little more attention to those
Mm-hmm.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. And it's true also, like as I write a game myself, right? That a lot of like the bloat, like just writing the rules can be done very fast, but then a lot of the bloat is like padding for the rule lawyer and taking care of all the exception and the ambiguity in the language and adding example. And sometimes you add example when does it really need an example there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that does contribute a lot. And I wish we didn't have to do that. Like total
But
party skill, King Waspinator don't bother about that. He gave like no fucking example. He
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
he doesn't ever explain what he says, so he can write his book like very shortly. But sometimes you left like scratching your head and say, wait,
what does he mean?
was that a mistake? Or is that...
Yeah.
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 Yeah, there is some of
But-
that. Broken Blade, nice
Yeah.
to see you, man. This is the guy who made Streets Apparel.
Yeah.
$9.99 super chat saying, enjoying the stream.
Thank you,
Here's some
sir.
podcast cheddar. We very much appreciate it. And then what we got here? We got Stormcrow's heading off to bed, though. He says, gonna sleep in soon. Last question. In your opinion, how do you go about designing a threatening and genuinely dangerous villain that the players don't just charge in and die?
Wait a minute. That the threatening and genuinely dangerous villain.
But one that's not just gonna like disintegrate them, just
What's
by.
wrong with that?
I know. Well, part of me
No,
is
like I think what you mean by that is like that the player are gonna fear, like they're just gonna, because like I think that's a lot of like a player, especially in game with D&D, like player are trained that if you have an encounter there, the encounter
Yeah.
is meant to be fought.
If it
So
has
there's like
hit
a
points,
reasonable
I can kill it.
right.
there's a reasonable assumption that that can be killed, defeated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to train your player to not have this assumption, right? So you
Yeah.
have to kill them.
So you have to kill them. Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
No, the character,
Yeah.
not the player, but
Yeah.
But
Well,
maybe.
sometimes, yeah. Unless.
I mean, if we're talking about a villain, if we're going to use that term villain as opposed to just any kind of oppositional force, like a villain should really define someone that has like a particular antagonism or is acting against this person or this group of people particularly or specifically. And I would key off of whatever the character's motivations are, the things that they care about, have this villain be threatening and destroying those things
Right.
that the characters care about.
I think a great way to look at making villains is look at like people in the real world, like real villains or even villains from fiction that we know or television shows that are about humans. Like set fantasy aside for just a moment. If your villain is also a human, like human beings are anybody can die. Anybody can run out of hit points real quick. But human beings who are villains are dangerous and scary for kind of a different set of reasons. It's the amount of influence that they have over other people. Like someone in here, Grumpy Old Gamer, saying, don't make him stupid. He's not a big bag of hit points. He uses abilities intelligently, has minions who are skirmishers, tanks, support casters, uses the environment, etc. But even outside of the mechanical aspect of it, it should be that this is a like maybe
He should be threatening outside of the combat.
yeah,
encounter.
outside of the combat encounter, he should be threatening. A king is threatening because of the power he wields over other people, not simply because he's a badass with a sword and a suit of armor.
that's what I was about to say. Like,
yeah,
integrate the villain with the world, that you cannot just go after him directly, because
Right.
there's other people that are important in the world that are not necessarily villain, that for some reason have an interest in that guy not dying and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Have like those complex relationship
yeah,
that you have to navigate as well, right? I think that's important as well if you want to make a villain that's interesting.
right.
Yes.
And I do apologize if our microphone keeps turning down. I'm literally sometimes watching the little lights turn themselves down, like it's responding to our.
It might be something with.
Yeah, there's some setting right
software,
now, so I
yeah.
do apologize. I'm cranking it back up. But Doc Flamingo again for $5. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Shit talk about long games by Pendragon fans. The game with a 5,000-page companion book. That's
Yep.
true.
But we addressed that, right?
Yeah.
I said I wasn't a fan of the way this book was done.
Yeah. Spam Viking saying, make the villain seem like a good guy and have him exploit the characters to get rid of his enemies.
That's one way. One way to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's one way. Also, you say like make the villain very antagonistic to the player. I think oftentimes also it should be the other way around, right? The villain is existing in the world
Yeah.
before the player character become anybody really.
Oh yeah.
And
Right.
it's the player
Yeah.
character becoming antagonistic to the villain in a sense because they get in the way of his plan and stuff like that. And now
Right.
the villain takes notice and stuff like that and say, "What the fuck are you? Like you keep fucking
Yeah.
ruining my plans and
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
my hopes
exactly.
and dreams." Yeah.
Megan Delacroix saying, this isn't difficult. Telegraph. Have the villain be talked about. Have the villain's henchmen show up first. Show the effects of the villain's actions before introducing the actual villain.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Edward Longshanks was an old man who would have gone down real easy.
Yeah.
If William Wallace, got was in.
He wasn't a villain though.
That's what I was about to say. He wasn't a villain though.
Yeah.
He was rightfully putting the Scots in their place.
Hannibal Lecter in the TV show is a good.
I never watched the TV show.
I've heard it's.
I'm
I've
aware
heard
of
it's
it. I know.
really good.
I know.
It's got Mads Mikkelsen in it.
Really?
As
Yeah.
Lecter. Yeah, it's supposed to be really good.
Oh really?
Let's see.
Yeah.
Space Roadie over in the vertical chat is saying that Delta Green did do a metaplot thing in the 2010s, which I was
Interesting.
not aware of.
Huh.
RuneQuest 2e is
Well,
like,
a lot of the free league game can have like the meta plot, but oftentimes it's much more contained.
interesting.
Well,
didn't know that.
I think Delta Green is it Green Run? No, is it Green Run In?
Oh, I thought it was free league.
It's definitely not free.
Oh, no,
League. Delta Green is a
Oh,
pretty
I'm-
old game.
I'm thinking about something else then. It's Twilight 2000 that is a.
Oh,
free league, no?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm confused of the two sometimes.
But
I
you're
don't know
right
why.
about Free League. They actually do that fairly well. They have they give you enough about a setting without sort of overburdening you. Like, Coriolis does
Yeah,
this
they're
very
saying-
well.
They're saying it's Arc Publishing is who's
Arc
doing
Publishing,
Delta
okay.
Green. Sly Blue Demon
Oh.
over in the vertical chat saying RuneQuest second edition is like 120 pages plus appendices.
Nice.
Appendices, which is good.
RuneQuest 2 is also old as fuck.
Yeah. Degenesis was very open and evocative in its first edition, but the second edition went full World of Darkness meta plot, and that's one of the things that killed it.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that
so
sucks.
maybe not a great experiment to run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let me see here.
because I think like with the full meta plot, it's gonna be it's very like it's gonna be people are gonna love it or hate it kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's very risky.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and the moment like I was inquiring, it's interesting. No one's done it to that extent, but definitely, like the ship has sailed on that now. Like, it's just never going to work in the marketplace right now.
yeah,
Right? People are not going to buy a billion different books. I mean, maybe you could get away with it if you release them digitally, or you released a certain percentage of your source books or whatever digital only, but people also wouldn't want that because they want to get the I don't know. I don't think
Yeah.
it wouldn't work in
The
today's market.
people still like listening to lore video on YouTube though. Like those
That is
you know,
true.
people like Warhammer 40k. Like there's a lot of people like engage with Warhammer 40k more with the lore, watching lore stuff than actually playing the game. I think
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
true. And you could,
Or
you
some-
could consider making like a lore supplement or something, but it's like
Which that would be fine. Like
that
I'm
would be
I'm
fine
actually not
if it was a
opposed
separate
to like
thing from the game.
if you're gonna do like a deep dive on the lore, I would rather have a lore book. Here's
Right.
a setting book.
Yeah.
Right. If I want it, I can get it, and then if I get it, I've gotten it. It's like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
done.
yeah.
Yeah.
You
know
bought
what I
it one time.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Space Roadie is saying RuneQuest is best played on Mythic Earth, and anyone who disagrees is a duck fetishist, which is possible. I don't know. enough
I
about
think
it, though.
I think you're
I
wrong.
would agree with that. No, I would. No, I would agree with that.
Are we talking about the rules, like the RuneQuest rules? I guess the RuneQuest, because
Well,
you can do that in Mithras.
you think the
which-
rune? Yeah.
I guess
I guess that's what you're doing. Like maybe
Yeah, I
like
guess, yeah.
RuneQuest or Mithril doesn't matter, but you just say okay, we were playing in the time of Heracles and shit like that,
Yeah.
right? And that's what we're doing now.
So
Why not?
I would disagree that it's best played on Mythic Earth, but you definitely can do that.
Glorantha sounds like a
Well,
cool setting, though.
RuneQuest has runes like on your character
Well-
sheet that actually doesn't really make a lot of sense in
No?
Mythic Earth.
Yeah, well, that's true.
But you should play
But
Mithras is best played on Mythic Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's a solution. Maybe
Yeah.
the chatter wasn't just not aware. But that's the thing too. Like when you have like all those weird race and stuff like that, I always have the question like, why does it add, right? Like, oh, you want to play an elf? Why?
Well, that's the great thing
Are you
about
kind of some kind
RuneQuest
of fairy?
is because you're not supposed to play anything else. They actually tell you it's stupid that they do give you the rules to do it, but it's like
Yeah.
a dwarf,
You want to play a duck?
an elf, a duck, a dragon. Like these races are alien, so alien as to be almost incomprehensible. You really shouldn't be playing them because you probably won't do it well,
Yeah.
and you probably won't have a great time.
We got a super chat in the vertical stream from John Smith for
Beast
$5. Metaplot worked for White Wolf because most of their players didn't play. They bought the books to read. Not an exaggeration. They actually did a survey.
Damn.
And that was his 5th super chat on the channel. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, and
I
mean,
wouldn't know, but I would absolutely believe
there was a
that, dude.
shitload of like novels for vampire
There are a
as
bunch
well,
of novels.
which I think were their attempt at like Dragonlancing.
I would definitely believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see here what we got. A campaign book? Well, first of all, someone asked if I remember Exalted. I do remember Exalted. I played a lot of 2nd edition. Campaign book, lore and future timeline that the PCs will have to deal with during play. Maybe.
I wouldn't
I think
include a future timeline.
I would include.
Yeah.
It's fine. You can have a potential timeline of like things that happen, but I generally wouldn't use that.
I just wouldn't use it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That works maybe well for like
Yeah,
a
I prefer
historical
if it's
setting.
in the like.
That's
Give me
because
some
it's
local. Give me something in the past.
Yeah.
And even you know, that's something I always say also. Like you don't have you can always prep less.
Yeah.
That is true.
If you're
Yeah.
prepping at all, you can always prep less.
You can always be better.
And and people like oh, they're gonna go in a medieval village, right? They're gonna go in the village and stuff like that. You don't need to know in advance what's gonna be like. It's a medieval village. You're gonna find like stuff that is found in the medieval village, right? You don't
Yeah.
need to know like, oh, the blacksmith is next to the cobbler, that it's next to the
Right.
the fish girl, that, you know, and then there's this and that. You know, the player they want to go there. They want to do something. They say, I want to go see the blacksmith. All right, there's one. I want to see
Yeah.
you know, just like it makes sense that would be there. Why not? You have an idea, I'll roll with it, right?
Right.
Just like they say, like, oh, I want to go see the time machine merchant. Well, no, now you're being a fucking idiot, right? You're a fucking asshole.
Time machine merchant.
That's how they catch if you're a witch.
Yeah.
You're looking for the time machine merchant. Like, we got him.
Mayor McCheese for $5. Thank you very much, man. A lot of video games have their lore contained in comics and short stories instead of in the game itself,
Which is so stupid.
and people seem fine with it.
Well, most people are barely people.
Well,
But I mean-
think about like when you watch a movie, right?
Yeah.
When you watch a movie or when you read a book, right? If it's well made, you don't have to be able to have a lore done beforehand, right?
Right.
You figure it out as you go through,
Yeah.
Right.
and that's
I-
fine.
Yeah.
And you can do the same thing. You can do something very similar in a role-playing game. Sometimes you might have to explain a little more up front because like the character that the player are portraying lived in that world, so there's some stuff they
Right.
wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and that's why I'm also a big advocate of like keep your world more mundane, so it's easy to explain and can get out of the way, and then the player can make assumptions that are gonna stand, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you can discover what's happening through play, and you can make it up as you go, and then like you just have to remember and take note, and that's much more interesting in my opinion.
You build your own campaign setting
Yeah.
that way.
And Max, you made a point earlier about like nerds and lore, and that's it. It's such a cancer on literally everything.
Yeah.
Like the nerd brain,
Yeah.
like the addictive need of the nerd mind
Yeah.
for like trivia, for lore, for minutia, for okay, what is on room 119 of deck 37 on the Enterprise D? As if that fucking like it's
Yeah.
not only is it so stupid and sucks the life out of anything, whether it was good before or even if it was like mass market appeal, like what anything vaguely interesting is sucked out. That's a big reason. I mean, let's set aside like wokeness. Star Wars, all these big franchises were already dead because of the nerdification, these nerd vampires sucking the life out of everything. Every bit of mystery in Star Wars or Star Trek or these big, once beloved worlds or franchises or whatever the case may be, like everything is filled in with the stupidest answers. Like we were watching I don't know if you're familiar with the channel Red Letter Media.
Yes.
They did a very amusing video
yeah.
going through the Wikipedia, all of the information about Darth Vader's
his
control
Oh, yeah.
panel. It's like, this button actually does this,
Nobody
and here's
cared.
the backstory.
Yeah.
And here's how it was, here's the logistics, like the supply chain
Yeah,
of like
and they-
how the button was
And
manufactured.
then his
like,
helmet is so shiny because they shined it with voodoo hide and like all this other shit.
like,
It's like
you people should not be
his
allowed.
like his like cheap black leather gloves are actually Sith gauntlets.
But like this, this is like the absolutely retarded, like ravenous need of like stupidity. They want their brain to be filled with stupidity, and they just vomit it back up. It's so
It's like
perverse.
you spend way too much time thinking about that stuff first. Like it's kind of like
Yeah.
get a life, right?
Yeah.
And also like normal, well-adjusted people should relate to character.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that's
Not the bulkheads.
that when you watch
Yeah.
the story, it's about the people, it's about the character and stuff like that. Exactly. It's not about like the lore and the ship and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
all this dumb
You-
fucking world building. We got $3.33 from Azimuth Heath Daniel Boyer. He says, "Nice pussycat, Mr. Max." I think he must have seen.
Yeah,
your,
he tried to jump on the desk and I
Yeah.
gesticulated and I slapped him in the face while he was jumping. So it was a bit of
And rightfully
that's
so.
what happened.
and in the vertical chat,
Yes.
we got 199 from Thraxis saying,
Thank you, man.
"It's the bathroom, young Steve," which I don't know what he's referring to.
Bathroom? Oh, room
What?
119.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
But is it a full bath or a half bath? That's the question.
Yeah, that is the question. Yeah.
other people shower in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Let's see here. The lore
Yeah.
happened in the past. Shouldn't be so overbearing to role playing. Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And
And it's-
Crispy's here. He says,
Like,
"Mr.
I think-
Max on BLG, right on."
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
to see you, Crispy.
And people don't even know his story, right? Like you talk to the random people on the street, like they know fuck shit about his story, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So why does it matter in the game there, right? Just like maybe you gotta know one random fact that you've been taught in school, and you probably like half remember it, and it's not gonna be correct
Yeah.
or true, right? Because like all his story is propaganda.
Kenny P says, "Starting with a rather mundane setting helps the players make assumptions about the world, and it makes strange events and creatures that appear during gameplay stand out a lot more."
Yes, I agree with that.
I
That's
agree with
very
that as
true.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you want to keep the fantastical. If you make everything fantastical, the fantastical become mundane.
Yeah.
Right. This
Yeah.
is why I really don't like high magic settings where it's just like people on fucking magic carpets everywhere and like eldritch blasting and all this other shit. Like it just sucks the life.
It all
out of
become
everything.
boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I agree with you, but I would differentiate that between what you're talking about from high magic as such. I know what you mean, but that's just really poorly done, quote unquote, high magic. Because you can have
Sure.
a quote unquote high magic setting.
It's basically like if I look at the game and
It
I'm
shouldn't
thinking
be
it looks like
ubiquitous.
fucking World of Warcraft
Right.
and everybody is blasting energy
Right,
out of
that's
the shores.
retarded.
Yeah. When it's completely ubiquitous, it's so fucking
Your
stupid.
things look like the D&D movie. Like
Yeah.
that's retarded.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like like we were talking about like a story being fake and propaganda stuff like that, and what the character knows. And I made a video at some point, like a short one. I think it was pretty short, like about epistemology in role playing game. And that's the thing, like it doesn't matter the law of the game. What matter is what the character know about their world and what they believe about their world and believe informed behavior.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna act about what's actually true in the world. They're gonna act about what they believe is true. And
Right.
Yes.
that's this gap there can be very interesting to play as well. But you have to remember that, like, don't ask your player to know all the fucking history because their character wouldn't know.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
figure it out as they go, right?
Yeah, and that tying into that
Yeah. And they
Baron.
can be wrong as well.
Oh, totally.
And that's the thing also, if you let them make assumption, they can decide something about the world, and then you as the GM, you can decide that, yeah, your character does believe that, but that's not actually what happened.
But that's
You
not what
know?
happened exactly. And
Yeah.
tying in with that, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen once again saying, lore should always be in the service of verisimilitude. Reward the player's curiosity with a deeper understanding of the world.
Yeah. I think that
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elden Ring.
And it should be done through character though.
Yeah, oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, oh, you're really
Yeah.
interested in playing in my game. Now I'm going to give you
Yeah.
a lore dump
Yeah.
because even if you would
Here's
like
your
it,
Yeah,
little
there's some
exactly.
people who would
Yeah.
like it, but no, it should be based on what your character knows,
Yeah.
what they think they know,
It's
what
like your
they've been
character
raised to
gets knowledge
believe.
of the world.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Great Gold Worm says Elden Ring is an example of high magic done right.
I never played it.
Yeah. That
I
sounds
already
like
beat
a
Dark.
game
I beat
Max would
Dark
like.
Souls, and that's enough for me.
That's kind of like a
It's a good
Dark
game.
Souls game, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but it's not as good as Dark Souls 1 or Dark Souls 3.
Dark
In my
Souls
opinion.
1 is awesome.
Brother Grognard saying, I would
Yeah, the
rather
first
take a dump than listen to a lore dump.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. Let me see.
And like there's somebody like also Brother Gragnar was mentioning Matt Mercer in chat, right?
Uh-huh.
I think Matt Mercer is one of like and maybe I'm gonna be controversial here. He's a very overrated GM, right?
Uh-huh.
Because he's really like training his player to be passive in a way, and
Oh,
the
totally.
player like
Yeah.
for season after season after season, like he's telling them a story all the time, and then you always have the player like asking, "Oh, can I do this? Can I do that?" He's
Yeah,
known
yeah.
like Mark Mercer is known for the sometimes like you can certainly try,
Yeah.
and the player fucking didn't get it yet. That stop asking me if you can do
Stop
that.
asking me,
Just
you
do it.
I
assholes.
keep
Yeah.
telling you can try.
Yeah.
Just tell me what you're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you what happened or something. Like you can roll some dice and figure out what happened.
Yeah.
But
And it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, so I've said this sort of recently. I feel, except for when I remember the giant pile of the millions of dollars and whatnot that he's made,
Yeah.
except for that, I sort of feel bad for Matt Mercer because he's locked into this format forever. Like, he has to do this show for the rest of his
Yeah.
existence with the same players.
Until it stops making money.
doing this thing where they're not really even playing the game, and I think he probably really
well, he could
does.
stop.
He could,
He
but
could.
then the money goes away. Like I get that, but it's
Well-
like the idea that like I don't.
Hopefully, but you got to build a little nest egg, right?
I hope
Yeah.
so.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
God, imagine if like Matt Mercer.
he was just
bankrupt-
blowing all of his money. Yeah.
Oh my
but
god.
but it's the type of thing
He'd
where it's
actually
like,
probably be way cooler. Like, what are you spending it on?
oh
You
yeah,
can't,
if he
like-
was just spending his money like really irresponsibly, that'd make him so much cooler.
right.
No, but I mean, it's like he has to do this format forever. He can't play with like new people. He'll never be able to actually run the game that he wants. Like
And
I
he's
think he
always
actually
gonna,
does
he's always
love
going to
D&D.
be that guy. He's always
Yeah.
going to be Matt Mercer forever, even if Critical Role went away tomorrow.
Yeah, it's so it's kind of like that to me. It's like a monkey paw wish, like.
Yeah,
Man,
you
wouldn't it be
made-
great if I could just play D&D as a living? And it's like your wish,
wish
is my
is
command.
granted.
Like
Yeah.
But
No,
he
I
also
didn't
like
mean it like
he,
that.
he can almost never improve either, because
No,
you have to keep
yeah.
this appearance that he's a great GM, right?
Yeah, he can't.
If you say like, "Oh, I'm trying something new, I want to see if I can," like he cannot do that.
No.
Like when we run a game, because we're just like a bunch of nobodies, right? We talk about like, "Oh, we tried
Yeah.
that didn't work well. We need to improve on that. That's something we need to figure out still how to do properly." we have those talk, and it's interesting, and that's also why we do those game live, right? And we leave the talk afterward, and we sometimes we go back to watch our game and say like, well, you know what, in that scene, like that didn't work too well here. We got some confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We study that because we want to improve ourselves. But Matt Mercer cannot do that. He has to keep the pretense that is great, so
Yeah.
he cannot really change his style, right? I just like
Yeah,
maybe he doesn't want to
he's
improve.
stuck.
Most people don't. But
He's stuck forever.
Yeah, Nicholas Carmago says
Yeah.
you shouldn't feel bad for Matt Mercer. He dug that hole and jumped into it himself.
Yeah.
yeah,
Let me see
I
here.
mean, he's definitely being well compensated
Yeah.
for whatever toil.
Megan Delacroix saying you subscribe to our locals. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, we very much appreciate that. If Matt
pronounced
Mercer
Delacroix.
changed to 4D GMing, the fans would crucify him.
What's that? Oh yeah. For
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
oh yeah, that would be great. And that's one thing too. Like, I know like you guys are a Ginny D respecter. Oh, there's a new girl though that's posting content. She's much
Oh
better
yeah,
than
no,
Ginny D.
we subscribed to her as well. As soon as Shauner alerted
What's
us
her
to the
name? I
fact,
forgot. Yeah. What's her name? I
Who's
forgot.
this?
Dana,
something D, yeah,
Dana or Diana?
Diana,
Yeah.
Diana
with D.
something.
I'm not sure.
So this
Yeah.
is the new gamer girl,
Oh,
the Zoomer
oh.
one. Yeah. That
The new
Shauner
one.
made a video about, and I
Yep.
was like,
New gamer.
sorry,
girl
yeah,
just dropped.
yeah, new gamer girl dropped. Sorry, Ginny, you're no longer
Yeah.
queen.
Much cuter than Ginny, but also like our maybe our advice on her that's quite as bad. But
Yeah, that is true.
but I always say like like I wish I could talk because like those people like they always like reassess the same fucking advice, same thing over and over
Right.
again, and it's always
Yeah.
like trash tier advice and like that. And I wish I could talk to those guys. They would never talk to a guy like me because I'm toxic a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I mean,
but like I find it sad because like again it's always like they're shortchanging themselves on their on the way on this hobby, on the way they engage with this hobby. They could get so
Yeah.
much more. But they listen to each other and they repeat the same fucking mistake and they over prep and they do the railroad and they
Same
find like
bad advice
10 ways to
over.
make your player engage with the game more and
10
like,
ways to ruin your
well,
game.
maybe just stop telling them a story. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, I think they're also sort of trapped in that if they have an opinion, if they take a stand on an issue,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying like politics or anything. It's literally
Yeah.
if I take a stand on this is how you should run your game, people flip out. I mean, people flip
Right.
out at us
Oh,
all
yeah.
the time, and
Yes.
we love it. But they see that as like, oh, I can't do that. Like the audience doesn't
Yeah.
like that. I can't take a position on that, which is
Yeah.
really just
Yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if you have like I don't know if you have those guys like you try to promote some ideas, some like concept, and I'm just a guy talking on the internet. I'm a very small channel, right?
Uh-huh.
And I've been doing that for a while for that long either, just like a little more than a year now. But you got this guy like though more than one sometime like every time you make a video that posting some idea, some concept, something, some idea you're playing with, it's gonna fucking leave you a wall of text and like
Yeah.
trying to tell you how wrong you are. Like man, just like
yeah.
there's plenty of other people you can listen to, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know, man. Like, I'm
every
talking to
Russian
some
novelist
people
comes
that are-
into the comment
But how
section.
will you know how wrong
Yeah.
you are
Yeah.
unless you got that wall of
and
text?
how not okay it was
Yeah, yeah.
that you had a different opinion. Mayor McCheese for $2.
And you know that's
Go ahead.
no, go read it.
Oh, sure.
I'll go
Mayor
along
McCheese
with
for
it.
$2 says, "I hope he didn't blow all his money on Daggerheart." I don't
sure
think
he
that
did
they
not.
did not. Yeah, they did not.
I don't think he read that correctly.
Oh, dagger.
Oh, Dagger Shart. Yeah, dildo shart.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
He'll be fine.
Ginny is having the same dream Woody had when Andy got Buzz. Yeah. Oh, this is it. Diana of the Rose. Thank you, Primeval. Yeah.
Gotcha.
This is our new
I'll look
queen,
her up.
everybody. Everybody go subscribe to Diana of the Rose.
Yeah, and unsubscribe to Ginny D.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, Diana of the Rose, man.
That'll teach you to hit that wall.
So here's the thing. As soon as she came up on YouTube, because I uploaded some of our shorts to TikTok recently, she popped up on TikTok, and she's got a shitload of subscribers over there. But they're attempting to shut down TikTok, and so she's like, "Oh fuck, I have to get over to YouTube now."
yeah.
Then we got Nightmare Maniac for $5 in the vertical chat. Third positionism is based. Yes,
Very
it is.
true.
Yes.
Correct.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, you guys got that as well because you make this content when you promote some idea and stuff like that, and then you have like some people say, oh, you're just like fucking story gamer, and some people
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
oh,
So
you're
many
just
people
like
don't get
old
it.
grognard, like, and people like very like so much like binary thinker, like
Yeah.
it's one or the
Yeah.
other, it's black and
Yeah.
white and stuff like that. They can understand like they can be another way, like yeah, maybe it takes a bit on that, like yes, we do accord importance to pay attention to the story, the narrative and stuff like that, but we don't pre-write it.
Right.
Like we don't necessarily do procedure and stuff like that. We're not just playing a game like a board game with more step, right? We're
Right.
just like no, there can be something else that is maybe in between,
Yeah.
maybe further one way or the other or sometime, right? It's not even like related. It's not on a spectrum really.
Right.
But people like a very hard time figuring out like nuance or like
Yeah.
that, maybe something can be like exist in a different dimension
Well,
or
most
direction.
people just can't. They can't think, and
Yeah.
like some people have commented before in the stream, like I have an idea for a video, or I want to do something, or I started doing something, and now I'm getting discouraged because I try to be as clear as possible, be as neutral as possible, whatever it is, and I still get these text walls where people just don't get it, and
Yeah.
it's like you're looking at it the wrong
Yeah.
way. It's like the fact of the matter in gaming and in other things, most people are not going to be saved.
Yeah.
But you have to try and, as best you can, say sort of what's true and what's good, and the people who can think and who are capable will find you, and those other people like aren't real. Like
Yeah.
it should be hilarious to you.
Yeah.
You
And it
shouldn't
is
let
hilarious
eat
to
you
us.
up. And it is hilarious.
Yeah.
And one thing that I think we talked about that before on one of my show, like one thing that fucking drives me nuts is like people like just want to have their fucking bias confirmed. People want to be
Oh, yeah.
told the thing they know already, right? Like
Right.
they don't want like I fucking like sometimes I find like the conversation is so fucking stale. I want to have like some new idea brought to me, some like something
Yeah.
like say, oh, that's fucking interesting. You never thought of that before. Like that's what I consume content for, right?
Yeah.
I just don't want to be
Yeah.
like reinforcing what I already believe, right? I want to be challenged in what I believe. And sometimes I'm gonna say, okay, no, I think I'm right and it's wrong, and I'm gonna come like stronger in my own belief. And sometimes I'm gonna, you know what, make a point. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe I'm gonna modify my position a bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
That should be like why we have those conversations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And like I have very strong opinions, and most of the time they're also very strongly held, but sometimes they're strong positions weakly held, And I've changed my mind on a couple of things even in the last year, just since I started doing this, which is cool. I actually like that I
Yeah.
found people that had like a perspective that I didn't, that I found valuable.
Right.
And I also like it when people of other perspectives change their perspective based on either things that I've said or even things that are totally unrelated. Like
Yeah.
one of the examples,
And that makes it worth it. When somebody like say like,
Yeah.
oh man, I tried that you were telling and fucking changed my gaming. I said,
Yeah.
that's great. That's why we do it.
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
exactly.
And just like
Crispy
people
was
like
like the
that
first
are-
the first big white pill for us.
Oh yeah, when we're
Yeah.
like, holy shit, like
Yeah.
somebody like took our advice and liked it, like
Yeah.
awesome. And again, we've said this many times, but we were also prepared for him to have all of his friendships destroyed by our advice, and we would have been okay with that too. No, but it's awesome when people like actually change the way they play. They're willing to actually experiment with different things. Like that was something that I've actually found pretty fascinating about the Bro SR guys, is that like everyone calling them a cult and everything like that. Like in the year that I have been aware of these people, they have actually thrown away a couple of like things that were seen as like they're religious fanatic. You have to do this big Bronstein thing. It turned out that didn't work for like a long-term game,
Yeah.
and every GM was burning out, and they threw that in the trash, and now they're doing something different. And so I like people that take the game seriously, even if they're taking it seriously in a completely different way
Yeah.
than I am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like the Bro SR guy, like we have a total different view of what
Yeah.
what RPG should engage with. But I respect them much more than a lot of other click, in the sense that they yeah, they take the game seriously and they're trying to figure out something, they're experimenting with it, and I think that's that's worthwhile, right? You're going in a direction
Yeah.
that it's not for
Absolutely.
me. Like it's like we have a different hobby, right? And that's fine, right? It's just like
Yes.
you can do your thing, your bone, and I like seeing you like pushing in a certain direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Absolutely.
And just the simple fact that like they have been like, okay, we're wrong about that. Let's try something else. And they're like, oh, this is awesome.
Hmm.
You know, like they've I actually respect that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Crispy says friendships destroyed, but new ones were made. That's good.
Worth it.
All good in the end.
A trade
yeah.
up.
Let me see here. Thraxis in the other chat, though, he's saying Diana of the Rose is a healthy girl. She got some meat on her bones. So we have a Diana of the Rose appreciator named Thraxis. Calvinoni, how can you take the Broasar seriously? I take their attitude seriously. They've got the look.
yeah,
We
yeah.
disagree on like the
Literally,
fundamentals of what the
yeah.
game should like is about and should be like for sure. But they at least believe that there is a right way to game, and they're trying to find that. And many of them are very
Yes.
funny, and they're not a monolith. Like they're not a monolith. You don't have to like everybody, and you don't have to be friends with everybody. We're certainly not friends with everybody, but you can take ideas from people that are good ideas, and you can leave the rest that you find to be bad ideas, and that doesn't just go for
I,
gaming, in my opinion.
yeah. I like people that promote something, right? That
Yeah.
Stand for
promote
something.
some idea. Like
Yeah,
if you want to go fucking on YouTube and stuff like that, have something to say, right? Like and more
yeah,
than just like, oh, it's all good, it's all equally valid, it's all the same thing, right? For me, that's fucking boring. Like,
Yeah.
no, I
And
want
it's
like,
wrong.
yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
It just I
yeah,
hate yeah I there's not like I would much rather you have a stupid fucking opinion than not having an opinion at all.
Yes.
Like it really
yeah,
just bothers
yeah.
me.
Just like being like, if you're just like being milk toast about everything and like washy washy and oh everything is good, like why are you bringing to the conversation really,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Why you like you're just
Yeah.
like fucking taking up some air.
Yeah.
Let's see. Pedro says their opinions on the hobby have become married to their identity, and any contrary opinion is perceived as a personal attack. Every side does that. Like every side accuses the other
Yeah.
side of doing that. Like sometimes sometimes attacks are personal on the internet. Like that's how it goes. But um, here's the other reason that I do like them, is that there was one time I was interacting with Jeffro, and I don't remember what I said to him or what I interacted with him, but he just responded no. Like he didn't give an answer. It was just like wrong. I was like, fuck, that's what I do to people. And I was like, you stole my move. And yeah, so I'm fine with that. I can't get mad at them for doing stuff like that because I do it too. Oh man. You can entertain an idea without accepting it. Exactly. You
Yeah.
can think through
Yeah.
something without finding it to be, like what is it, like threatening or rage inducing. You can entertain the concept without
Oh, yeah.
accepting it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum. And I think, oh my god, I think we caught up to the
Oh my
chat.
god.
It's also 10:39 here. I don't know what time it is in Canada. I know. Oh wait,
Oh,
hold on. As
we have more than one time zone, but
corkboards and curiosity. Yeah, you've only got one Canadian time zone. Yeah, that's it. Corkboards
the
and
Canadian time zone.
curiosities is a gamer girl channel that is worth a watch. I might
Oh,
follow her.
I watched her. She
Does
got
she
an
have an
accent.
accent? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Not
got an
familiar.
accent, which you shouldn't listen to people with an accent, right? It's disrespectful.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then let's see, Nicholas Caramado. I'll check it out and I'll hold you accountable for it.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I've seen her stuff. I don't know if we've subscribed to her, but I've seen her stuff a couple of times.
Yeah, like Shauner did some review of her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Bleeker says, heck, I find half of what you guys say to be BS, but I appreciate your perspective and still feel I can learn for it. Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah.
Even though you are extremely wrong and we are obviously correct. No, that's exactly correct. That's the kind of attitude we like. And we like it when people disagree with us. And
Yeah.
and we're not, we don't, if people disagree with us, we don't take that personally. It's totally fine. We actually like conflict a little bit. So,
Well, it's like I always like talk about like dialectic, right? We can like there's a way to do it. Like we try to get to the truth, right? Like I have my opinion and stuff like that, and I know you're much more like, oh, we're right, you're wrong, and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
say like, no, that's what I believe, and I think what I believe is true and is right. That's why I always believe, but I might be wrong. I can entertain that idea, right? Sometimes like
Yeah.
I made mistake before. I changed my mind on some stuff in the past, right?
Yeah.
And it can happen. I assume it's gonna happen again in the future. I'm not dead yet.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely changed my minds on all sorts of things, and it's
Mm.
like you should be willing to be open to the fact that you might be wrong about something, that you might change your mind on something later. But the thing is, I also, on the flip side of that, I that does not mean be so open minded that you're willing to just toss your positions away at the drop of a hat. Like
No,
you should
Yeah.
think about things seriously.
no, I need to be
Yeah.
convinced. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah.
I think my biggest caveat with like the dialectic or when most people use or lament about the lack of the dialectic or a dialectic. I think again, you have to have some strength in your ideas, but again, what we're talking about, but you're intelligent enough, willing enough to be to change your mind when it makes sense as near as you can perceive that. But I think there's too much lamentation at the lack of like the discourse is dead, the dialectic is over. The dialectic is over as like there is no overarching consensus anymore if there ever was. There's certainly no curated. Like
well, that's good though.
no, but that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's good.
That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
good, and I see a lot of people falling into this pessimism or frustration
Oh, yeah.
or despair. And it's like, dude, like you can't pine for something that ultimately really never existed, and for all of the frustrations and the chaos, it is better this way. It could be better than it is right now, right?
But when people are in lockstep, when everybody is going in the same direction, that's actually very dangerous.
Yes.
Like you need people with different ideas. So, and obviously you don't want lots of people with
Oh.
bad ideas necessarily, but
When everybody go in the same direction, though, you can go far. There's that.
yeah.
In
Well,
that
Well, you're
direction.
going in the
Yeah.
right direction.
Yeah, that's true. But I do think that there is some need for diversity of ideas, and
Yep.
yeah, and that is healthy. But and again, like each generation has to learn good ideas over again. This is not something like there
But
is
that's the thing too with that's the thing too with RPG, right? We don't have to go on the same direction. That's a
Yeah.
fucking hobby, right? It's not like we're talking about like big social movement or stuff like that. Like every table can do something different. So when we have like different discourse, like it's like listen to what people have to say and think of what would work for you. Try different thing, and like if you're dissatisfied the way your game are, I have those issue. Then go look for solution and listen to different people,
yeah.
and maybe you're gonna find something that work for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a pretty important question. Great Gold Worm said, "Your thumbnail is hilarious. You couldn't find a real picture of Gygax. I couldn't find a picture of Gary Gygax that was not horrifically ugly, and I didn't want to have some ugly guy on the thumbnail, so I used the Futurama version of it."
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a good
anyhow,
reason.
I think we should wrap up because it's 10:45 and I still got to make dinner because I ate a late lunch at 4.
Nice.
Yeah,
anyway.
the neat life, eh?
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, it's been awesome.
Yeah,
having
this
you
was
here, man.
excellent.
We need to do
Long
this.
time coming.
Yeah, long time coming. We
Yeah,
need to do this.
got to
more
make
often.
this more frequent.
Yeah. But to all of you out
Always glad
there
to come and chat.
in YouTube land, did I get another super chat? Let me see here.
What's
No,
that?
it doesn't look like it. Everyone's saying goodnight. But yeah, to everyone out there in YouTube land, thank you so much for joining us on this stream. And
Yes.
Looking
Thanks
forward
everybody
to
for hanging out for all the
seeing you
super
again
chats.
soon. All right, let me stop the stream here.
Got to stop both streams.
I do have to
this time.
stop both streams.
Ginger. Oh yeah, there is no like two ginger joke.
Yeah. All right, and that one, and